Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spawncast episode 350, the first full Spawncast of the year. Last year, kind of that half episode, but it was a lot of fun. Tonight, though, had to bring in the one and only Jeff Grubb.
Happy to be here. This is great. Yeah, it's been a while. I'm glad we can make it happen. It's I think our ships were crossing the night a few times. We tried to make this happen before, but now I'm happy to be here in 2024. This is great.
Busy guy. You're all over the place.
Yeah, it got way busier in like the last year too. It's a good kind of busy. It's the kind of busy you want, where it's like, oh, everything's paying off and all that stuff. But yeah, it's really cool to be back here. I love listening to the show still. You guys still put on a great show.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, we I remember you last year. You were at the Summer Game Fest E3. What you were at Summer Game Fest, weren't you? You did like a whole section, right?
Yeah, we did our own like night show, like at Summer Game Fest, 3 nights back to back. Yeah, and we had a bunch of people over to the offices out in LA. It was a good time. Had Phil Spencer's come sit on the couch. It was a good time. I tried to get you out there. I told you who to email. I'm gonna get Jeff on
the phone next time, and I'm coming out.
Yes, we'll make it happen.
My invite was lost in the mail. Okay,
we'll do one of those triple phone calls with back like they had back in the day. We'll make it happen. I'll get on there with you.
I'll get out there. He sends the invite. I'm out there. I'll come out. I will. Right. I'll come. Can
you tell him to invite Black Keely too?
Oh, it's just.
Yeah, sure.
we have OJ with us holding up pre-show.
Yeah, it's fun. Good to be back once again. Starting off the year with the full Spawncast. Looking forward to talking about some games and stuff. So yeah.
Got Josie Woe with us, Josie.
Yeah, happy to be back. I started a playthrough of Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, so that's been interesting.
Oh wow, okay. What prompted that?
Well, because I played all the other ones on the Switch, and everybody was like, you got to play Zero Mission, but it hasn't come out yet. And I played the other one, and I really didn't like it. And though I made a video about it that garnered a lot of interesting responses, it did really well. So I was like, win-win. We'll try out Metroid 2, see how well it does, see if I like it.
The good comments, the hate comments, they're all the same. YouTube.
That's what I'm saying. They blend together.
More people.
Exactly.
Hey, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. You have a whole like chronicle of all the Metroid games on your channel.
That was the idea. And it's like, I'm not hurting anyone. It's a very, what's my opinion do on the game? Not a lot.
Everything. Any thought on Golden Sun?
Yeah, I actually do want to play those games. I've never played them. They look cool. I'm not an RPG person, but I might check them out.
I'm not much of an RPG person, and I really like those games a lot. So
yeah.
Okay. Golden Sun. Love Golden Sun.
Be curious to see if you take a shot at Josie, what you think.
I find like Game Boy Advance games. Yeah, Game Boy Advance games do like age pretty well too.
Oh so. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's from that era of like Nintendo RPGs where they worked with developers, and developers like, we're gonna make an RPG, and they're like, well, you have to make it fun. That's the one thing. Just please make it fun. So it's actually a fun RPG.
That game looks really cool for the Game Boy Advance also. Like, I had some really cool effects with like the battles and some of the
sprite scaling and sprites.
Yeah, it was like the camera angles were really cool too at the time.
Yeah.
I bet those still look all right on the OLED Switch. I'm gonna check it out there just to see how it looks there. Evan's with us.
Yep.
Evan is here. All right, good. Sean will be joining us soon. He's cheering on the Knicks because they can hear him from.
Does he just normally watch that during? Is he there, or is he? Because he normally just watches.
He doesn't leave his house.
Like,
never assume he leaves his house.
To a Knicks game. Like, why do you just go there?
Right. He doesn't leave the house, right? Yes.
Those prices are insane for Knicks games, and like the trekking to like New York. No way, Jose.
But I mean, how big of a fan he is? Like, one room is like just the Knicks room. Like, I feel like you got to go to one game in your life.
Yeah, you got to go to one. I mean, I've even been to a Chicago Bulls game.
Didn't he skip a convention because he was supposed to go to something they were doing with like a signing or something?
Oh, that sounds like an excuse right there.
Yeah,
that sounds like something made up.
But then when we talked to him to be like, man, hopefully that was fun, he went, I didn't go. And it was just like, what?
He's an interesting one. He'll be on a little later though, when their game is over. I think he said like around 10, so halfway through he'll jump in. But we do have quite a bit to talk about still tonight. I had to bring Jeff on because he's out here. He's leaking the directs. He's leaking the showcases. Apparently, I saw the forum threads. They're all out now.
Yeah, they know what they're talking about.
I think he did open up the conversation around the year kind of getting started, especially because we have the Xbox Developer Direct to look forward to this week. That a lot of questions around some of the things that are going to be shown, maybe some other things that they didn't talk about, and the Xbox third-party controversy. Nate is not here tonight, but I'm gonna confront him this week coming up on Direct Xbox because he started some stuff. So his social media was going wild just because of Nate's podcast. So I wanted to bring that up as well, just because you had some input there too, Jeff. And of course, Prince of Persia came out, and people got to play the demo. Some of us gotten to play the game and even finish it. So I had some thoughts on that, and I'm sure some of you guys did too. I do want to jump over though to the Spawncast Network Patreon just to recognize some of the producers over there with achievement: John O, Joshua Butts, Mr. Joby, William Hogue, Trent A as well. I want to throw them in there. And then the Game Orb, who continues on as a sponsor for the channel. Make sure you check them out. I have them linked down below in the description. The Game Orb, trekking out to different conventions so Sean doesn't have to. He can live on through their eyes, seeing Nintendo Live and I'm sure TwitchCon and all kinds of stuff. So make sure you check out the Game Orb over on Twitch and YouTube, linked down below. Shout out to them. So let's do we just start with Prince of Persia? I wanted Sean to be here for this because he was kind of getting checked a bit by this game. So what
does that mean?
I wanted to. He was some of these bosses. He was.
He's not good at
typing in all caps a couple times.
Oh, that's what I like to hear.
Skill check.
Yeah.
Just
I was trying to tell people skill issue.
I was trying to tell people, like, yo, this has some like Souls like type of deal.
Difficulty to this game,
yeah.
The Estus flask, right? If you have an Estus flask in your game, I consider a little bit Souls like. That's like the first step towards being a Souls like. If I can get a vial that's going to heal me and I can upgrade that and get more of them, then yeah, I think it's a little bit from. Hey, that game is very, very, very good. I am in love with it. I think it's fantastic.
I agree.
I'm incredibly happy with this game. I thought it would be okay. So the team behind it, and I have such a hard time because pronouncing it correctly. Ubisoft Montpellier.
Yeah. It's like part of the UB Arts team, right? Like they were kind of responsible
Rayman
for
Origins.
Rayman. Yeah,
Rayman Origins. Rayman. I think they even made a lot of them even made like the original Rayman as well.
They worked on some of the Far Cry games too. Like they'll do those.
Who hasn't? Yeah,
it's true. They'll be like, oh, let's go help Far Cry, but they come out of the gate with this, and I figured the platform would be good because they did Rayman. I was like, well, okay, yeah, they probably got that figured out, but the combat is actually very good. It's like when you get towards the end of the game and you have all your powers and abilities and you start stringing stuff together, it is quite impressive actually how well it flows.
The thing is, it's all good. It's the combat is really good. The traversal is really great. The Metroidvania search actionness of it is very good. And then like there's these like time puzzles where you can create three versions of yourself, and they get more and more complicated as you get later in the game. It's like that could be a puzzle game all on its own, and that is great. So like the puzzles are fantastic. It's just it feels like a team that really understands the Metroidvania genre really well. And then they had the time and the resources to really extrapolate that in every way, and not just like keep every idea. They only kept the good ideas, which must have meant they had a ton of ideas, and they just kept the ones that really just raised up the level of the game overall. And it's in my top echelon of Metroidvania games now. I mean, I like it, I think, more than Dread, and that I never thought that would happen from a Ubisoft game. Like, no way.
Yeah, I got it in my top tier right now of Metroidvania games.
I knew it could be as good because as soon as I heard Rayman Legends team, I'm like, all right, Rayman Legends is as good almost as any Nintendo platformer, right? Like, I think we can all safely say Rayman Legends is right up there with Super Mario Bros. Wonder or like Mario 3 or other 2D platformers. So when I knew that they were making it, I'm like, okay, this is probably gonna be really good. And I liked it, one of the few, but I liked it from the very beginning when they first showed it because it looked like a high quality Metroidvania game. I mean, I played and beat Hollow Knight. I love Dread. I love all of the old school Castlevania. That's like a top 5 franchise for me. So this was looking like it can be right up there with that when they started showing off like the powers at the beginning. I'm like, wow, this looks really cool. When they showed off more, agree with everything Grubb says about the game. I'm in love with it. Right now, I'm still not sure if it's like, above, like way above Dread for me, because they both do things really well. Like for me, I don't know, like the mini map situation. I don't know what the hell they,
I wonder if
that's
they can patch that in. That seems like a very obvious omission.
Yeah, that is the only, like that's my only major complaint. And if that's the biggest complaint, it's not that big of a deal, right? Because it's a mini map, right? So, but if they had the mini map, I think it would have been even like, it would have made things even flow better to where you don't have to pause the screen as much. But yeah, I agree with everything. The combat is super fun. The music is surprisingly awesome. In a lot of the different areas. Like I wasn't expecting Prince of Persia to have like lit music, but it's really good, better than Dreads, right? Obviously Dreads is not that great. So you notice the music way more, like when you're comparing the two games. Boss fights, there's some good boss fights, but I think that, if we're going to do a comparison, I think Dread kind of tops it on that one. But like powers and combat and stuff like that. I mean, one game you're shooting the whole time, right? So it's a little bit different. But yeah, Prince of Persia, like the amount of combos and different things, it's like perfectly taking what you loved about Sands of Time and like The Warrior Within and like all the other Prince of Persia games. And even the original Prince of Persia. I don't know if you guys played the original one.
Oh yeah,
I played it back on the day. Yeah, it's like where there's like traps and all sorts of stuff, and this is like that. This is like way more like that to me than a lot of the other games. Well, Sands of Time, there's some stuff there too.
It's kind of a cross between Sands of Time and the older Prince of Persia.
Exactly. You know that they probably played Sands of Time. They probably played that a lot and looked at some of the stuff.
I mean, the air dash is just the wall run from that, just manifested anywhere. It's really, really good, really satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, I can go on all day, so I'm going to stop talking about it.
Yeah, so it took me 16 and a half hours to beat the game. So I felt that was actually pretty lengthy for a Metroidvania game. I was like, wow, there's for like that, like Dread is like 10 hours or so, like 10 or 11. So it's like in that ballpark. But initially there's a part where I thought it was over. I was like, oh, okay, that's not bad. And then just kept going. I was like, oh, okay. And I'm going back now trying to get to 100%. I'm stuck at 80% though, because the thing I've noticed is I have to go back through the map to remember where certain things were because I didn't use the
screenshot feature
as much as I should have.
Yep.
So that's one thing I wouldn't mind them doing is when you beat the game, they just highlight where all the things are on your map.
Did you buy all the maps and everything like from the girl? Because if you buy all the maps, I think it makes it a little bit easier to be like, okay, that part of the map I haven't explored yet, and now once I'm back there, I'll just poke around a little bit more. I haven't beat it. I'm kind of cleaning it up right before the very end. I definitely got past that point that you're talking about. You're like, I think this is the end.
Yeah, I thought that was the end of the game. Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I got something on right bumper now. Okay, and it's awesome. So it's like, okay, the game just keeps getting better, even though it's like, oh, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, it should have ended. I'm glad it's continuing to go. But yeah, I'm also having fun just cleaning up the map.
Absolutely, dude. I agree with that. The cool thing about the game for me is like I love the difficulty. I love how enemies, like a normal enemy, can just like shred you to pieces if you're not careful, right? If you're not
or you get
thinking
cocky
about it.
Yeah, like I'm like, oh, I'm totally gonna wait to do the parry. I love doing the parry, and like I'm gonna stunt on these hoes, and then I miss it, and get eaten
and then you get cooked, and then you get cooked, and you're like,
because it's risk reward. If you miss the parry, you get punished really hard, and I love that. That's such a good feat. That like more games should have that.
I played it on I didn't play on the hardest difficulty, but I played on like the second the hardest, and I think that's just like a perfect fit, and it just teaches you to like get good at the game. Like, I know people say get good, but honestly, like it rewards, like whenever you die or whatever, you don't ever feel too salty about it. Like you're just like, okay, I know what to do now at this point, So I love games that don't feel cheap in that sense. There are some stupid enemies that just are annoying as hell, but like you get used to that and like you adapt and you start getting powers to help you get past those enemies too. So to me, it was all good. Like the difficulty, to me, it feels even better to play than like whenever like I die in Souls games. If I die in a Souls game, it's like whatever, okay, blah blah blah. But in this one, it feels, I don't know, maybe because it's 2D and there's not that 3D element to it, but it just feels like you can progress and get better at a faster rate. To me, at least in this game. So it's my favorite Prince of Persia game of all time, and I've pretty much played and beat every single one of them. So yeah, man, I'm not super shocked, but I'm incredibly happy with what they've done here, and hopefully this turns into like a franchise, like its own.
Yeah, man, remember we got Game Boy Advance Castlevanias every year, and then they did DS ones. We like 6 years in a row. We're getting a Castlevania Metroidvania game, and that was fantastic. Yeah. Just do that. I mean, you could take every 2-3 years here, however much time it takes to make a game like this now. That's fine. I mean, I hope the same thing is happening with Metroid Dread. I hope we're getting a sequel to that in a couple years. Not even at this point, like a year maybe, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one thing that surprised me a little bit, it's not really a spoiler because I feel like you see it in the demo too, but I know it's in the first, I don't know, hour of the game. You realize earlier on that you're not the person who has like rewind and stuff and stop. It's interesting. They kind of give Sargon his own. He's more like interdimensional with his powers, whereas the big guy you fight right in the beginning of the game, before you even get to Mount Quaff or whatever, is able to rewind time and stop and just kind of toying around with you. And I'm like, man, maybe they're doing that so that Sargon doesn't feel just like the prince when we go to Sands of Time remake. But I thought that was an interesting idea, is to make him a kind of a different sort of I guess what's the word, like time user, really.
Yeah, and it just feels very considered, like everything else. Like it's a good point that those powers that you would have had in Sands of Time exist here. They didn't forget about them. It's not like a full reboot where it's like, well, yeah, it's the time powers, but we're going to do our own spin on it. It's like, no, those exist in this same universe, and now you are going to get a chance to play out with different powers. While you see how those are being used now by a villain, and it's like building on this franchise in a really smart way. Just again, people made this game that thought a lot about Metroidvanias, they thought a lot about Prince of Persia, and they just thought about the overall user experience in a really obvious and pleasant way.
Yeah, love the amulet stuff too, like the amulets.
Yeah,
and
I start talking to people like you can really start specking out your character into your own build, like just. Oh, get every amulet that has something to do with parrying if you're someone who likes to parry, and upgrade all of those. And your playstyle can feel very different than someone who's like, oh, I'm going to use a ton of bow and arrow and the chakram power and stuff like that. It's really cool.
The one thing that was kind of, Josie, did you see anything about this game? Did you get the demo? Anything?
I want to check out the demo. I haven't had a lot of time, but it looks really cool. I was excited for it when it was first announced. I just haven't played it yet, but I'd like to. I mean, they also go on sale pretty quick, so I'm not opposed to buying this for $20 in a year. We will see.
This is the funny thing, Josie. You mentioned that. I saw this pop up quite a bit online when it comes to actually it was more about the 2D game as opposed to it being Ubisoft necessarily. 2D games still have that stigma attached them around value, and even though this is a $50 game, it wasn't necessarily it's going to be on sale soon, like you're saying, Josie. It was like, it's a 2D game. I don't know if I want to spend more than $20 on it. And
Hollow Knight ruined it. Hollow Knight ruined it for everybody.
It's not just Hollow Knight. A ton of 2D games that are amazing all came out at that price point. I think Dead Cells, stuff like that.
I mean, Hades technically basically 2D essentially, and how much did that cost? And yeah, it's rough out there for these games from AAA publishers trying to make that value proposition. But man, $50, that's what it is, right? It's worth it at 50 easily. This is a game that would have been in a lot of top 10 lists had it launched last year.
It's worth every penny at that 50, in my opinion. Obviously, everybody has subjective value, but the quality of the game, you haven't played a Metroidvania, in my opinion, that's quite like this. Like this one for sure. It feels just different compared to the other ones. And it does all of your favorite Metroidvania games. It kind of has like a little slice of each one plus its own unique identity as well, you know? Plus there's replay value, and it's difficult, and there's like stuff that you can do and go back. Like it's not just like it's like a one and done type of game, you know?
And I think it's the Metroidvania for people who don't really love Metroidvanias. They think about a lot of the problems that I think people have, and they have a solution for the most part. Like you're not going to be able to fast travel anywhere. The fast travel still works like it does in a Castlevania game or a handful of other Metroidvania games, but it's still going to like lessen the pain as much as possible to ensure that you don't feel that backtracking if you don't want to feel that backtracking as much as you would in other games.
They've got full baby mode in the game too, though. Like if you want to have accessibility and just it be incredibly easy, you can do that too. You can customize the difficulty completely, and like I think there's even like it can tell you where to go. There's even like it'll tell you where to go next.
The guided mode works a lot like it does in like a Metroid Prime, right? Where it's like here is where you should be going. You got to figure out how to get there on your own.
Like a marker.
And that's like that's not hurt Metroidvanias at all in the past. I mean, if you have any hesitation, turn that stuff on. If you have trouble with the parrying window, you can make it wider very easily. There's a ton of sliders in the accessibility and the settings menus. Take advantage of that stuff.
Did you see in the platforming thing that they have in there is you can create a teleport point, a respawn point, even like so if you
I didn't see that.
I believe next to it, and because you do a lot of wall jumping, apparently you can set. I saw it. I didn't turn it on. I should have just tried it, but you can just set that point anywhere. Although, whenever you're on solid ground, it basically sets a checkpoint in like a platforming section for you, so it's already pretty forgiving. It's already pretty forgiving, with that. But you can do that too. Like if you
absolutely,
like there were some times where I was getting trolled by this game. Like you don't know what's down there. You drop down and then something just squishes you, and I'm like, come on.
Sure,
There's like what are those like spinning like spike barrels that are just like those were cooking me like in the sewers like a little bit.
Yeah, that was kind of ridiculous, some of that stuff. So, but I recommend it.
Sorry, just to clarify, I don't think most 2D games aren't worth $60. I do. I don't subscribe to that thought process. I'm just saying it's Ubisoft. They go on sale within a year.
Oh, you're not wrong. It will be.
Yeah, you're not wrong on that. I agree.
Like Avatar has literally already dropped to $40.
That game's not good, but yeah,
it's all right.
It's all right.
Roy asked, does the new Prince of Persia have anything like Shadi? That's from... It's not Two Thrones. That's from Warrior Within. Let me make
the
sure.
thing that chases
make sure
you?
I didn't just make people mad. Yes, this character from Warrior Within. No, not someone quite like that.
It does have a Warrior Within skin though, so if you're like in your Godsmack era and you want to make that happen, you can dress up just like the Warrior Within Prince.
Yeah, they have a bunch of skins in there actually that are they're, the one I have, he's actually just always glowing, so that was kind of cool. Although I will say I do get a little annoyed when there are a couple challenges, I'll say, with like spinning blades and barrels and stuff, and it took me like an hour to beat it because it got really difficult there for a while, and then I get to the end and it's like, here's a skin that you're just never going to use. It's like, thanks. Great. I guess it ticks off 1% on my little progress.
Yeah, that's what it's really about. Yeah,
of course.
What percentage were you guys at when you beat it? I'm curious.
I took a picture of it actually. Let me double check. I think it was 67%, 68%.
Okay. It's about 2/3, 16 hours. That sounds about right.
Yeah, it was something like that. I like I said, I took a picture of it when I put in my video for 63.38% at 16 hours 39 minutes.
Okay. All right, yeah. Man, that's a beefy game.
It was pretty good, I think, for Metroidvania. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So. Whoa. Yeah. Joshua Butts with the sizable donation is actually one of the executive producers over on Patreon. I said, thanks for the constant content and entertainment day in and day out to John and the rest of the Spawncast. Good to see the real game of the year, Tears of the Kingdom, win the Game of the Year madness. It did actually, and I have to make a video following that up to complete it, but it did beat out Baldur's Gate 3. So shout out to Tears of the Kingdom. Shout out to Joshua Butts. I'm going to come back around when I do the super chats, though. Thanks, Joshua. I really appreciate that. It's very, very generous.
Shout out to Josh.
Yeah, shout outs to Joshua Butts.
What's it called? I think what surprised me, Tears of the Kingdom won Kind of Funny's Game of the Year as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think for a lot of fan voting, it did. Like, Tears of the Kingdom went over basically everything last year for most fan votes online I was seeing, so...
Yeah, it won ours at Giant Bomb. Yeah, we won a lot of awards for sure.
Baldur's Gate 3 did beat out Resident Evil 4 though, so
Resident Evil 4 is a very good game.
Popularity-wise.
Yeah, a lot of it's based on the type of people that
RE4
watch
did go
the
pretty
channel.
far in that. I'll give it credit. Yeah. It did. It went pretty far. Let's move over to. We're gonna start. Well, we got some presentations we can discuss here. Some rumored, some already announced, but. Let's start with the Xbox Developer Direct, January 18th, 12 p.m. Pacific. That'd be 3 p.m. Eastern time. They've named 4 games that'll be there. We have Hellblade 2, Aura History Untold, which that's the strategy game from Oxide. I'm not a big strategy game person, but apparently this is from a developers behind Civ. So if you're a Civ fan, it's probably one you're going to keep an eye on there. But then we have Avowed and Indiana Jones. So obviously the big 3 there, the people I'm sure are looking towards Hellblade 2, Avowed, Indiana Jones. But this is coming off the heels of quite a bit of discussion around Xbox, which we'll get to. But I wanted to start with the Direct, some of the exciting stuff that people are looking forward to this week. So I'll say out of the 4, just in case anyone's a big strategy person here. What's the game that you want to see the most about? Whether it's release dates, gameplay, just information in general.
Yeah, I'm interested in finding out about Indiana Jones. I mean, I like machine games a lot. I really liked Wolfenstein: The New Colossus's story. I'm not a huge story and games guy, but that one really hit hard. There's a lot of really good commentary and stuff. It hit the right time, like 2016, and what was happening in America really fit with what was happening in that game. And I didn't necessarily love the mechanics in that game. I think the shooting was fine, but I want to see okay, they've had a lot of time to do Indiana Jones right, and this has got to be one of those games where we feel the presence of Microsoft in the way that Phil Spencer said that they didn't do with Redfall, and that they want to ensure that these games are getting the love that they deserve so they can come out and be the best they can be. I want to see that all on the screen when we find out about this game. And release date, yeah, the rumors it's coming this year. I think that'd be fantastic. Whatever, take your time. I just want to see a game that looks high quality, that can. I don't expect anything to be as good as an Insomniac Spider-Man. Like, that's a bar too high, I think, for most of these games. But as long as, I want that to be their goal. I want them to be aiming for that. And again, I want that to be obvious when we see it.
Yeah, Indiana Jones. That's the one I'm incredibly interested in. It seems weird because when we first heard about it, it was a very generalized trailer of just sweeping over a desk. And it's like, oh, cool, Bethesda's gonna do it. And there's like Machine Games, like, oh, Machine Games is doing Indiana Jones. That's weird, because I figured they were just gonna go do Wolfenstein or something again, right? Okay,
I would liked it.
Go ahead, do that. Indiana Jones, though.
Do we know if it's first or third person?
We don't know
yet. That's the
yet.
question, OJ, right there. First or third person, because Machine Games is known for first person.
I was hoping Jeff Grubb would just tell me.
I've been looking a little bit, and I have not able to find out. I mean, you know, I think there's like murmurs. It could be first person, but I don't necessarily believe that. We'll see.
In before VR.
I feel like it's going to be mixed. I think it's going to be both. So there'll probably be moments, I think, of first person, but then also moments of third person cover or some. I don't know. It's hard to say, but if it went all first person, that would be. I feel like that'd be weird.
I mean, I would be fine with that, but I know that that's not what makes sense for a character action game with a big famous character these days. That's not what people want for the most part. Or I think more people want the third person. I think that's a fair thing to say.
Character too, right? That's
I mean, you want to see that. You want to see the fedora. You want to see the leather jacket and the whip and all that stuff. Yeah.
I want to see. Like. I mean, if it's first person, I'll still play it, but it'd be good if it was third. I'd be more happy if it was third.
This is the moment where you play it safe, right? You just make it Uncharted, basically.
Yes, 100%. Just make it Uncharted. Just do that.
Yeah,
but like actual like upgrades and stuff, like no upgrades. That would be. I mean, if they can just.
Put yeah. Well, I mean,
Uncharted has no upgrades at all, which I hate that about Uncharted. Still like Uncharted, but I hate that
there's no stuff like where depending on what you do in the game, your abilities level or scale or something. Like they could do stuff like that because they've done that in things like Wolfenstein.
Yeah, Wolfenstein. Exactly, Wolfenstein has that. So
they could kind of tap some of that knowledge. I feel like though with what they've done in Wolf, there will definitely be like upgrades and progression and stuff. But like the biggest question to me is the first person or third person, and it's like just don't get weird with it. Just third person, you'd be okay. Just go for it. That is interesting. 10 minutes of the game and developer insights apparently. So they're going to show this thing. Interesting though. Some information got out there around it actually coming sooner than people were expecting. Like this might be a 2024 game.
Right. I mean, I was not expecting 2024. It was like, yeah, sure, we'll get that when we get it. Maybe 2025, maybe even beyond that. I'm not really too worried about it. Hearing this, it's like, okay, man, I guess if this is showing up in their January developer direct, this game could be out by like summer. I guess that's a possibility, and that would be, and then they can reload with games for the fall. Now, of course, it could still be the fall, but now I'm like, in my head, I'm getting it like this. This is a possibility that we get a date for this game, and it's this summer. And it's ready to go, or like a late spring or something like that. Again, that'd be ambitious, but it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility now, especially if they're ready to kick into the marketing now. These companies these days don't usually like these long marketing cycles, 6 months, especially under ZeniMax. They've had a lot of success with that, so I'm really looking forward to see how that all plays out.
See, I feel like these licensed games, if you have a character that people already recognize outside of video games, like a Spider-Man, for example, that's like one of the best brands you can position during the holidays. I kind of wonder if Indiana Jones is just set up as something they put in the marquees and the retail stores, and it's an October game or just something like that. Just throwing it out there. That would be pretty impressive. Though I'd be kind of surprised if they flashed 2024 during this presentation for Indiana Jones, but that'd be cool because Hellblade 2, we get the release date here, we think. Give us the release date, and
that's probably their next big one, right? That's their next big release.
First half of this year, then, to get it out. April,
I think
May,
so.
Maybe?
Yeah,
okay.
April sounds right to me. Yeah.
Okay. Nate seems pretty confident in this game, so I think Ninja Theory is going to do some very impressive stuff with Hellblade 2. So I've grown very confident in it as well, and I feel like this is a game they've held back for so long to give us that release date, and this is it. They're gonna tell us about it, and it's out in 3 months or something.
Yeah. They had it at Summer Game Fest, and then there was something at the Game Awards, right? They had more at the Game Awards, so it's like they've shown it off the last two big opportunities. that mostly signifies to me this thing is coming soon. That's what I always heard. It's like going to be the next big one. So yeah, I think we get the date, and you're right, 4 months before this thing is actually out after we start hearing about it here.
This has actually set up a pretty good year already just for Xbox. If they have Hellblade 2, Indiana Jones, Call of Duty, and I'm going to say Spyro. But there are 4 games in there this year. Just right, that'd be pretty impressive.
That'd be decent.
And then I do want to point out Avowed, even though I'm not expecting it this year. I am interested to see what Obsidian has here. We saw the change in art style, and that kind of threw some people through a loop a bit. But I've seen it enough to where I've just kind of grown accustomed to it, and I'd like to see them just sit down and just kind of play it for like 5 minutes.
What type of game is Avowed?
It's like hand magic, but it looks better than Immortals of Avium. So it's from Obsidian, and when we first saw it, people thought it was like Obsidian Skyrim. And then the last time we saw it, it like looks a little bit more action-y, a little bit less RPG-y, although we don't necessarily know if that's just how they were presented at Summer Game Fest. So, yeah, we'll get a better idea here. Like, really, that's my question too, Josie, is like, what is this thing actually going to play like? Because I'm curious by Avowed, but that I'll admit that last trailer didn't do much for me.
It looks sort of like Skyrim, right?
Magic-based Fallout New Vegas or
Oblivion, something like that, yeah.
Right, and people like Obsidian, right, for Fallout New Vegas, like the very RPG-esque RPGs, and so I think people are like, okay, just show me that stuff. Yeah, cool, hand magic. I like, throwing fireballs is cool. I think people want to see it now. Tell me I can talk to an NPC and convince them to do something. We'll see if we see that in this presentation. Hey, Josie, do you care about Indiana Jones? I don't think
I do.
Young people. You do? Okay, so you're like the first young person that answered yes to that. Okay, that's fantastic to hear.
I mean, all my friends actually really like Indy. I don't know. I mean, he's in Fortnite, so I don't know if that kind of brings him back a little bit in any way.
Thank you, Fortnite.
That's who I play as in Fortnite.
I was the guy from Fortnite.
I was kind of hoping she'd say I love.
Jeff's face. Did you see? He was down with everything, and he said,
"No, I like Indiana Jones for other reasons."
I was kind of hoping she'd be like, "I love all that old people shit."
Says shirtless Indy in Fortnite. He's shirtless. It's a good time.
That's right. It's a party. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I love that. No, any way to get the kids on the Indiana Jones, OJ, I'm fine with it.
Everything was going
well,
good.
And I've seen all the
Josie zoomered. Everything was going good until she zoomed.
I've seen all the old movies. That's just the way it's the most relevant right now. And like the movie with him that he came back in, I thought was all right.
I did too.
I love his character.
Right. Yeah.
I'm waiting for the next reveal of Halo, and then we go through that. That's the guy from Fortnite.
The guy from Master Chief. The guy from Fortnite.
The guy from Fortnite.
Do you guys think there's a shadow drop of this Xbox thing?
That was another question I was going to have, Jeff. Do you think there's a surprise? Because there's 4 games. I've seen some people rumor that there's a 5th game that's going to be mentioned. And I almost wonder if that is a shadow drop of some kind.
See, now, so Hi-Fi Rush is what they did last year. And I don't know how they feel about how that went. Who knows how they feel? I mean, like I've said before, the game cost this much and it made this much money, but they have other ways of measuring success over there than just that. If it is a shadow drop, I wonder if it's something like this like Halo Battle Royale mode or something like that. Tatanka. That would make sense, I think, because you get everyone to jump online that night to go play that. That momentum carries through, I think.
All the new people coming in?
Yeah.
All right. I like it.
Yeah, I would like that a lot.
The fodder that come in.
That game got pretty good again. I'm happy with it.
Okay, yeah. So you gotta get Jeff on there. All right,
yeah,
we got squad battle now. We got 8v8. I need a team of 8 or a team of 7. So we could run that. Yeah, that would be cool if it was just a mode. Or they could even what they technically could do. I don't know how people feel about this, but if they just said, here's X amount of Activision games that are now backwards compatible and in Game Pass, you can go ahead and play them.
That seems likely, I think. Probably not the huge number, not a massive drop, but like
there's 6 of them or something.
Some
like
selects,
that,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Just throw them in there. Go to town. You're good to go. So like that would be fine too. I'd be like, yeah, that's a fun drop in there. So, and I do want to also recognize Aura History Untold, just in case anyone is a Civ player out there in the chat. I see you. I recognize you.
You are heard.
I have nothing.
I played a lot of Civ in my life. The ones from like other teams that have been inspired or had people working on Civ. Not many of them have hit for me. I'm like, I'll just go back to Civ. So I'll be curious about this one, but my hopes aren't like super high or anything. This isn't going to be my savior for the genre or anything like that.
Yeah, but hey, you need that variety in Game Pass. There you go.
Yeah.
More history.
I think Xbox has a pretty exciting year ahead of them. I feel like it could really pull out of this whole downer mindset that a lot of people have.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think
firing up the Xbox Series S. Okay.
This year looks good. I agree, Josie. This year looks pretty good. I mean, especially if you get Hellblade, Avowed, and Indiana Jones, even if that was just all their 1 year, I think that would be pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Compared to where it was before. So, I mean, they've got more than that apparently. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You know what's very interesting? You mentioned that, Josie. I want to comment on this very quickly. I saw a message that went out from IGN a couple hours ago, actually, on Twitter. And it was kind of strange because it mentioned Xbox's lineup from last year and then this year. And it mentioned like they're finally, I think, catching up to PlayStation, overtaking PlayStation. And everyone stopped for a minute and realized that last year PlayStation released Spider-Man and Call of the Mountain. And everyone was kind of confused there for a moment. So it is interesting that mindset's there because I think Microsoft released 6 games last year. One of them was Redfall. That kind of counts as a minus. Like,
yeah, it's a negative. Yeah.
I mean, it technically still came out. Technically it did. But it's interesting that that's sort of the mindset for Xbox. I think a lot of it's just the recent news that's come out around, or rumors that are going around. But I will say, you're right, Josie. If they show up with Indiana Jones and they show up with as we assume a new Call of Duty, like I said, at the end of the year, they'll be very popular and stuff. But Hellblade 2, Avowed sneaks its way in, Spyro shows up. Like, these are all things that could definitely propel Xbox and get them into their one big release per quarter, or one exciting release, I should say. It doesn't have to be big. Hi-Fi Rush isn't considered like a big game, but it's an exciting game. That kind of thing, right? That's all you really need. Something that creates buzz and interest, and even backwards compatible stuff can do it too. So
I think they're getting to a point with those smaller games too, where if they say we have something, this is basically our next Hi-Fi Rush or something along those lines, I think people would be like, oh, no, I actually am excited for that, because I'm at a point where it's like the Pentiments and the Hi-Fi Rushes are the ones that I've really, really loved. And so it's like, hey, the team that did Pentiment, they're working on something new and they'll be out in a year and a half or something like that. You tell me that, I'm right there. Let's go. Bring in certain affinity. I like it. Let's see what this Halo movie is. They're working on something. All about that. Yep. All about that. I do want to move over though, because of course, now that the Xbox Direct is announced and happening this week, people started talking about, does this kind of start to kick off the year for everyone? Like, do we now start thinking about PlayStation's state of play or their experience that everybody is, I see online, everyone's like begging for right now. Like, oh my, Sony, you got to say something soon, because it, again, last year, while there are a lot of PlayStation selling, they definitely leaned on their third-party support, and it kind of looks like they're doing that again this year from what we're seeing. So people just want to know what's going on within Sony. Like, not necessarily IPs they own, like they own Helldivers 2, but Arrowhead's making that, and Sony doesn't own Arrowhead. They're thinking like, what's Naughty Dog making? What's Sony Santa Monica making? What's Team Asobi making? What's Sucker Punch making? Ben Studio, like all these different studios you can rattle off, but we don't really know. That's kind of the hope. So you brought it up, Jeff, the idea that Sony might try to position as they move forward this year to get started. If they did it, would you want them to do something where it just says, you know what, here's games that aren't coming out for 3 years, but we're going to show them to you right now? Yeah, I mean, I think of all the companies that can do that, like, okay, Xbox does that. They've done it for a long time. Perfect Dark, we haven't heard about in forever. We're done hearing about new games from Xbox. You have so many announced. You have to just tell us about those for now. Sure, you probably will announce a couple new ones, but we are mostly interested in you delivering on the ones you've already talked about. Nintendo talks about games that are 3 years off, and you tell yourself, that's probably 5 years off. That's going to get delayed a couple times. Sony's the one that's like typically has delivered when they've said this game's going to be out in 3 years. And yes, sometimes those do get delayed. But I don't know, most of the time when they announce something that's 3 years off, I think that they've earned telling us about that, because it usually works out correctly. I don't necessarily know why they've backed away from that. I think that they see that there's not a lot of benefit to it. All it does is put extra pressure on them, and they could get just as much return on investment if they spend less money and have a shorter marketing cycle. And I think they've kind of leaned into that going forward. So yeah, I would like that, but I also think that they probably still aren't going to start talking about games that are 2-3 years away. If they do, I'll be happy. I don't expect them to. I think that they're probably going to have mostly partner games in this state of play, which is coming relatively soon. Again, that's what I've heard. I think that if they do have any big game of their own there that we haven't had officially announced, I think it probably is Ghost of Tsushima 2 or whatever they call it, Ghost 2 from Sucker Punch. And if that's like coming out later this year, I think they're set again. Just like Spider-Man last year carried it. I think for a lot of people, Ghost 2 would carry it, and I think I'd be fine with that.
I wonder if they would call it Ghosts of, and then wherever it's taking place,
I think
the
so.
time period, or yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool to see. I would love to see what Sucker Punch does next after Ghost of Tsushima, because that was an awesome game, and it shocked me when I heard that the budget was relatively confined for that one compared to Spider-Man. So that's even if you double that, it's still significantly less than Spider-Man. So that's the studio, them, Team Asobi, and then Blue Point. Blue Point's the other one that I think I'm at least
good point.
Curious about what they're doing. There's so many studios within Sony right now. We just don't know what they're doing. They've just been pretty quiet. So everyone's waiting for that blowout experience where they just start talking. But if it's a state of play, as you mentioned, that would have like a lot of partner stuff to expect in there, it's still going to be that same situation of, well, they're games, but they're not. We're waiting for the Sony studios to show up. But
right, yeah, state of plays are just they 100% are marketing tools, and like that. I mean that like literally, like Sony puts a dollar price on a spot in the state of play, and then they sell that to their partners as part of the contracts for like co-marketing deals. Like you get so much amount of money of co-marketing from us, and that sometimes is represented by a spot in the state of play, which would be worth X amount. And we give it a market value, and we say it's worth that. And that's how one of the ways that we're paying you. So that's why a lot of times you get a state of play, and you're like, well, I don't care about this, but Sony has to do it because they owe these obligations. I think that it's a shame that they think about it that way, because we view it as such this is a show, please entertain us. And a lot of the other companies have gotten it at that point. I think even Xbox has sort of gotten it at this point. So state of play always feels like it is risky and going to disappoint us. And even that last PlayStation showcase was a little bit disappointing to a lot of people. So I think Sony's at a point where the next thing that they do should have at least one big new thing. Some updates on some of these live service games like Fair Games and Concord.
Yeah, this year.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, let's get some updates on those, and then so we can begin moving past them if you don't care about them. And I think Sony needs to recognize a lot of their fan base that they've cultivated over the year don't care about those games until they know a reason why to care about them.
Sure. Okay. We'll look forward to that state of play of some kind coming up. But the other one you mentioned, this was hilarious because I saw it pop up immediately on Twitter and forums, was the Nintendo Direct. And then I was like, really? Let me go look. And you're like speculating about a Direct, and they're like,
right,
just leak the Direct.
Yeah, it's bad because I never think about it, like how the words are going to be taken by other people. But yeah, of course, like they always have one in February, or at least they have for the last several years. So it's completely fair to speculate that one will happen, just like everyone else has. And I do think there will be one, at least, if it's not in February, maybe they do it in March, but there'll be one around that time. And this is kind of how it's played out for the last several years. And it's kind of what I heard would happen this year. Is like Microsoft would go first, and then Sony will have something. And then everyone always says, and Nintendo always does that thing in February. And that's how I feel about it too. They'll probably have something in February. And why wouldn't they? They got games to sell. They probably have one or two more announcements for the Switch, and then we'll get the summer, and they might start talking about games there as well. But we'll get a little bit past that, and then maybe it's all Switch 2 all the time. But yeah, they'll do a Direct. They still have video games to sell us.
Curious, has everyone think Nintendo should even handle a February Direct? Because everyone's going to go into that. I mean, I assume they would tell people that there wouldn't be new hardware, but that would be weird on their end anyway, because it's like, well, we're also technically saying that we do have hardware coming. We're just not going to tell you about it now. That is a very strange Direct to try to handle when everyone around is like, hey, a new system's coming soon, right? And they just be like, here's some Switch remasters coming your way.
It's just explicitly the new Hollow Knight. Finally, it's here. It's the ultimate flashback.
I mean, that would do it. People would be like, oh, okay, cool. All right.
People would be excited for that. They'd be like, damn it, finally.
But that's a weird situation, because I feel like a lot of people are just, I mean, it seems like every day stuff's happening, but I feel like every day people are thinking, is it coming? Are they going to make the announcement in March? Are they going to make it in April? Like, people are already looking towards that, right? So you show up in February with a full-on Direct. and it's all games for the current Switch. And then the next month you go, okay, yeah, here's the new Switch. So it's a weird time period to try to do this thing.
Yeah, I think the most aggressive way that they might handle it would be they end the direct by saying, we do have new hardware. Right now it's codenamed this. Join us in, July, August, September for the full reveal or something like that. And maybe they'll make people wait that long, but maybe like, oh, we have a teaser video in a few months and then we'll do the full blowout later in the year. Something along those lines. I could see them doing that, but it's Nintendo. They could easily go in this direct and not mention anything and just play oblivious. They 100% could do that, and they might.
They're gonna get cooked by those investors at that meeting.
It's kind of what I think they're gonna do, though. Like, the Switch is still selling, not as well as it was, but like, I don't think they want to jeopardize that in almost any way until like the last second, and then they'll be like, oh, here's the code name, here's the actual console, it's coming out in a month or two or something. I just feel like they're gonna want to do things back to back super fast to get that turnaround time.
Yeah. And I don't know about a month or two. That'd be
okay. I was exaggerating, like a little bit longer than that, but I don't.
6 or 7 months, I figure, from start to finish, start to release.
Oh really? Well, maybe I'm off base, but
I could see like 6 months at the longest at this point.
That's kind of where I'm.
Yeah. Nintendo is the one company that does tell their investors what to do, though. Like, all other companies are like so scared of their investors, and Nintendo's like, nah, man, we're not doing that. Yeah. So I don't know how much they're worried about it.
They would release their guidance for the following fiscal year, like 30 days after it ends or something, and everyone's gonna look at that and be like, okay, obviously you have something coming then. So
for sure.
And once that goes into manufacturing, we've seen it with every single system so far. It leaks online. The PS5 leaked online. The Switch Lite leaked online. Everything. So to me, they'll probably have to plan it out around that. But I get through the fiscal year currently and then just start talking about it. But the February Direct could just be, I guess if you close out with Metroid Prime 4, is anyone
like what if it's an absolute banger? Like they just announced like all these crazy games, but maybe some of them like they don't specify that it's just for Switch or something. I can see stuff like that maybe happening just to get you maybe hyped for like the launch lineup or something like that.
I mean, you want to light the internet on fire at the end of it, be like, hey, any of these games you've seen, don't worry, they will work on the next hardware that we'll talk about later.
Boom.
And then just like that's it, credit roll.
Yeah. Like Endgame, like the Avengers will return. That'd be so good.
I feel like Metroid Prime 4, if you close out with that, people would just be like, all right, cool, that was great. And that's all you really ever need with these things. If people just remember one announcement from any direct, and if it's good enough, the whole direct's great. That's all you need. So that's how I'd handle it. I'd have Silksong in there, and I'd close out Metroid Prime 4, and then show up in a couple months with the new system.
Yeah, same here. I think there's a decent chance Metroid Prime 4 is there, right? I mean, does everyone? Because I'm mostly asking because I chose it in my Fantasy Critic League, and I just want reassurance that was the right thing to do.
I believe it's been, or it's going to be, I should say, if I'm not mistaken,
half a decade.
I think it's been 5 years since. No, to be on the so on the 25th of this month. It'll be 5 years since they announced the reboot.
The JPEG anniversary? Oh.
No,
not even the JPEG.
Since they announced that
like
they were
7.
rebooting the JPEG. Yeah. So 5 years since that day when they showed up on YouTube with that video.
2019, right?
2019, January.
I love Nintendo.
January 25th. So 5 years after the reboot, that does seem like, Retro was working on it before then. So even if it was like 4 or 5 months before that, they were working on it. So that seems like we're getting to the point where they can probably have this game ready to go, I assume. So
I think so too.
Maybe they do show it finally, because I feel like they've been terrified to show this thing until it was basically done. So maybe that's the move. Launch game for next system. I like it.
You don't think it's an original Switch, like the swan song for the Switch?
I think it's a cross-gen, personally.
Cross-gen.
I also think it's a cross-gen, but I don't think it's what the thing is launching with. I think it's hard to sell a console with a Metroid game. Not that they're not great, but like they don't have crazy widespread appeal like something like Zelda or Mario. I kind of think we're getting
you probably have it like first holiday.
Yeah, I think it's going to come out like very closely with it, but I just feel like we launch with like a 3D Mario or something crazy, and then we get into the more like hardcore gamer stuff.
Sure. Yeah, like we still had Xenoblade 2 come out, same year as the Switch originally launched. So
I had Thread. That game probably should have been delayed, to be honest.
Yeah. Well,
But I mean, it still came out that year, and I'm shout out to them. But like, there was just some things that were missing. Like, it didn't really get better till like they patched it up the fall. Like, it wasn't until like the early the next year that they really like, I think like 4 or 5 patches, 3 to 4 patches, and then by then it was like, okay, they really tuned it up a bit. But I mean, they did get it out in that first, that 2017, which nobody felt that they would get it out in that year. So.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I remember that. It was like getting down to like 0 hour, and they're like, it's December. So, oh wow.
Yeah.
Retro is the studio though. If you need a studio to show off what that next system can do with realistic visuals, you let Retro Studios go to work. They'll take care of that. So that's PlayStation State of Play, Nintendo Direct coming up next couple months. I think it'll be a fun way to start off the year.
Agreed.
This is sort of off topic, but do you guys think that Metroid 2 and 3 are still or Prime 2 and 3 are still gonna come to the Switch?
Yeah, I mean,
bunch of remasters coming up.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I heard. That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I was told, is that 2 and 3 remasters were coming as well, but it's Nintendo. And the last time I said that, I think they deliberately punked me and delayed Metroid Prime 1 remaster, and then Shadow dropped that. Yeah, exactly. And I only think that because when I talked to Kit and Chris, they're like, yeah, we talked about you all the time at the Nintendo office. So I'm like, what the hell? Okay, all right, fair enough.
Thinking they got that. They got the Twilight Princess Wind Waker. They're just going to go remaster back to back to back to back.
Is that a double pack? Like 2 and 3 double pack, you think? Or like individual?
Do you want it to be a double pack?
$120.
That'd be so awesome. That'd be so Nintendo.
You want it to be a double pack? Well, now it's 2 SKUs and they're $50 each now. It's it'll probably be like a standard $60 game.
Metroid Prime Remaster was $40, which kind of surprised people.
Yeah.
That's true. There was actually a lot of work put in that. Look who decided to show up finally.
Shut the fuck up.
Are the Knicks at least winning?
I'm guessing no.
We're up 9.
Oh.
No, we're up 9.
Okay, cool. Is it halftime yet?
So like 3
fourth quarter,
away.
pal.
Oh, okay. Fourth quarter. Not bad. Okay. We were just talking about the state of play in the Direct.
Oh, nice.
We already talked about Prince of Persia as well. What boss was messing you up this time?
Oh, none. I'm at where am I? I got all the did like the puzzles to go to the under sand area. Forget what it's called. So I'm messing around in there now.
Okay. Good stuff. All right, let's go over to the This is the thing that Nate started. All right, see, Nate told me he was going to be saying stuff on his stream, on his podcast, and I didn't believe him, and I guess I should have, because he lit a fuse online. This was around the Xbox exclusive first-party games that appear to be rumored to go to another console. He didn't specify which console, he didn't specify which game, but that was enough to get people really discussing this and questioning Microsoft's strategy here, some of their decisions that could be in the works. Although I will say Microsoft's usually pretty good about coming out, at least recently, on social media and either dropping subtle hints or just outright refuting stuff, and they have not refuted this at all. So I'm believing Nate on this one. I think he's correct, and the idea of Xbox exclusive games then jumping over to console, I think, has some Xbox fans concerned about the future of the console itself. I think that's what a lot of the pushback has been, or concern, I should say, online. A lot of discussions, which there have been many, but Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, these are coming up. Jeff, you mentioned Sea of Thieves?
Yeah, that's the one where it was like when this news broke, I was like, oh, is this the Sea of Thieves thing getting out there? And then I look closer, I'm like, well, what Nate's saying doesn't sound like Sea of Thieves. It sounds like Hi-Fi Rush. But yeah, I've heard Sea of Thieves has definitely been considered for everything. It probably comes out to PS5, and then if it does well, maybe they do it on the next Switch, something like that. But yeah, Sea of Thieves is definitely one they're looking at, which makes sense. I think Sony's probably looking at their live service games and be like, do we do it on Xbox? Do we put it out there? They won't, probably not for a while, but Xbox obviously doesn't have those same issues. And I think this is right in line with what they've been saying forever. They're not going to suddenly start putting all of their biggest games onto PlayStation and Switch like in the first year or anything like that. But they have accepted and people won't like to hear this, but they've accepted they lost the console war. They lost it. PlayStation won the console war. Okay, now what? Now what does everyone do? I mean, what does that mean for Sony? Like, okay, they won. Great. They still have to try to make money, and they still have to try to sell new games. So they're still in the same position they were. And so what? Microsoft lost it. Big deal. They still have to figure out what they need to do to make money, and that's what they're doing here. So, they have to keep going towards tomorrow, and it's going to look a little bit different than it has in the past, but it's not going to be some sea change where everything is over and Microsoft is a third-party publisher, other than the fact that they're already the biggest third-party publisher with Activision, basically. But yeah, it's a messy time for gaming, and people are going to have to kind of just accept that for a while.
It is a very strange looking situation. I will say that, the idea of Microsoft, but I mean, they could even announce this in their developer direct. Hey, Hi-Fi Rush, or maybe they just put it into a state of play, or maybe they just put it into a Nintendo Direct. It's just Chai shows up on screen. Here's Hi-Fi Rush for the
Nintendo
system.
Direct. I think would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so too. Although it's weird that now it's getting kicked around that it's a PlayStation bound game and not. I don't know. People, again, the rumors thing get churned up in the mill and then it comes out the other side, but. I think the game makes a ton of sense for the Switch in terms of just collecting revenue. I feel like it would sell really well there.
And Xbox has done that a few times. Like it's done that with Cuphead already. It's done it with Ori, and Minecraft isn't to the same extent, but Minecraft is on everything, and technically, I think they own them too. So like, it's not unprecedented. I think it's gonna be crazy if they start going to the PlayStation, which will really be interesting. Like what first party means, I think.
Yeah, here's the thing that Josie, and I agree with you what you said there, but the thing that I heard from, because I watched so many, I wanted to get the opinion of like actual like these hardcore Xbox dudes, and while they agree with everything, why? Because I wanted to hear their viewpoint, because I wanted to hear their viewpoint on why they're upset, because like I'm looking at like they're gonna still put all their stuff on, like the biggest stuff, like Jeff Grubb said, it's still gonna be there. Like you're still gonna have your system, nothing's gonna be taken away from you. So what are you upset about? And the thing is that they feel that while all of those games came over, this is the first one that's actually like Microsoft first party, not like a third party publisher or like a third party developer. Like Ori, that's Moon Studios, right? That's an indie studio. Cuphead, that's an indie studio. So it's different than it being Tango, which they bought Bethesda, which Bethesda then got Tango, right? Or had Tango before. So it's even kind of like that. It's a little bit different, but they feel that that's more of like a core first party. They almost see it as like, I don't know, Nintendo with Mario or something like that, right? That's how some of them are looking at that way. Like it's not an indie studio, something separate or second party slang or anything like that. It's like a core first party game. Like it's like a mascot game. So why are they doing that? So that's the big thing that I heard. Don't necessarily agree with that, but that's what they're saying.
Yeah, it's the studio is Microsoft really likes Tango GameWorks. That's one of the things I heard a lot of after I did that thing where I'm like, Hi-Fi Rush, underperformed what it cost or whatever, is like, oh no, they really love Tango GameWorks and they want to invest in them. And to me, this like kind of lines up with that a little bit where, they want to continue giving that studio wins, let their game go out there, make some more money, have them feel good about it. They've invested in their next game in a big way, apparently. So it's like, I think this is just a lever. It's a tool that they're going to pull out of their toolbox every once in a while. And I think that does, that means it happens more often in the future, but it's not like the new status quo or anything like that.
Do you think it's... Go to Jay.
I'm sorry. I look at it as like Hi-Fi Rush is a game from what we've seen, right? Jeff Grubb, you said what you said, but I don't think this game, it's not lighting up Game Pass charts either, right? So it's not like it's one of the most played games. So even if you want to play the Game Pass angle on it, it's not like it's lighting up the Game Pass. It doesn't have 30 million downloads, and it's definitely not lighting up the sales charts. People aren't buying it like that. It's just sitting there, right? It's not like it's selling 2 million, 3 million copies. So a game like that, it doesn't necessarily need to just be stuck on Game Pass, not doing anything, not being downloaded, and not being bought either, because everybody who wanted to play it played it. So to me, it makes no difference if a game like that comes over. Now if Gears and all these other games, then okay, get worried or get upset. But to me, stuff like Cuphead and all that, this shouldn't even be to me, it's not that big of a deal, I've even said the reverse. Like if it's like, let's say Nintendo decided to put like Astral Chain on Xbox and PlayStation, I'd be there to buy it in like half a second, right? If they wanted to do something like that, because it doesn't sell as much. So I think it's really just it's a game that's not necessarily super crazy in the downloads or sales. So this is something that if you want to expand the franchise, you want to make like, you know, a TV show or movies or something, you're going to have to get it in front of more people's eyes. And like you said, get more money so they can reinvest into a new Hi-Fi Rush, right?
You could even see the studio thinking like, hey, Microsoft goes to the studio and say, hey, what would make you happy? Like, I know you guys put a lot of time and effort in Hi-Fi Rush, and you want it to be played by even more people. Maybe you want to make a Hi-Fi Rush 2. What would make you feel good about doing that? And they're like, can we put it out maybe on other platforms? And Microsoft would say yes to that. They're just not interested in saying no to their studios like that.
Yeah.
It's just because I look at this and I go, it seems just like there's less and less interest every year from Microsoft on their console. Like their console is kind of, it feels like it's getting pushed further and further into the background for Microsoft. And it's odd because I feel like if you buy an Xbox, you're probably signing up for Game Pass. And I get the idea. They mentioned before that they've kind of hit a wall for console like Game Pass subscribers, but I do wonder if, for example, they were able to push out 130 million systems like they do what Nintendo did here, even if they had to do something like, oh, we're going to do a hybrid system to all this stuff. Does anyone think they wouldn't just have more Game Pass subscribers than they do now by a significant margin? That's the thing it's kind of strange to me with that, because if the idea is to grow Game Pass, I don't really know if Hi-Fi Rush on the Switch makes Game Pass grow, because I don't really see an avenue for Game Pass to end up on PlayStation or Nintendo's platforms anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they think that's a viable way of doing things, of like growing the console.
Isn't growing Game Pass. That's not going to be a game that moves Game Pass subs. Hi-Fi Rush. It's not a game that has moved the needle for Game Pass subs. It's going to be stuff like Starfield. It's going to be stuff like Hellblade. Those are going to Gears. Those are going to be the games that really move it. So keep those, you know, Game Pass, whatever, exclusive or micro. But like Hi-Fi Rush, Cuphead, Ori, these games aren't making Game Pass like, oh my god, I got to rush out there and get Game Pass. I mean, they're cheaper too. So you can just like, if you really wanted the game, you can just like buy it. Like Hi-Fi Rush is what, $30? Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. So if you wanted to buy, I mean, if there was a physical, I would have bought it. I would have bought it right there if there was a physical. You know, I ended up just getting a code for it from Microsoft. But yeah, I would have bought it 100% if it, like, you know, day one physical for $30. And same thing with Cuphead. I just went out and bought the game. You know, I didn't feel like I need Game Pass for that. But like Starfield, like, you know, different.
The messaging is just kind of dicey, right? It's hard to make sense of this sometimes with what their plan. It almost feels like their plans are coming from two different ends of Microsoft sometimes. Like they don't necessarily meet in the middle or communicate well. Yeah, because now people, what I see online are people are saying, well, if Hi-Fi Rush is good, does that mean like Starfield's good? Is Halo show up on PlayStation? Or like that seems to be some of the stuff that people are just kicking around. And I feel like once that starts happening, it then just kind of snowballs a bit and people are like, do I need the Xbox? And once that happens, and then you come in selling less consoles this generation than last generation, that feels weird, because the Xbox One was, I mean, hate might be a strong word for when it first came out, but people did not like that system when they were showing it off and when it launched. But Xbox Series is tracking below the Xbox One, and that kind of blows my mind right now, because the Xbox Series is significantly better than the Xbox One just in general. With the value proposition behind it. And you could argue the games, obviously. The Xbox One, I went back and looked at the launch lineup. It's better than people remember. I mean, even things like Rise got kind of swept under the rug a bit, but like that, Dead Rising, Forza and others. But it seems weird. It just seems like they're working in the direction of no console. That's the thing I think people are kind of sticking with or having a hard time grasping right now is, are we one generation away from there just not being a console anymore from Microsoft? And I think that's why you're seeing some of the reaction right now of don't want to let go of anything. It's like, we don't, not Hi-Fi Rush, nothing, because like we don't want to start this trend right now.
Yeah. You know, I totally get that. That's the opinion that a lot of these dudes had, you know, was that I think that I don't think it needs to be pinned on like Hi-Fi Rush the game. Like I said, it needs to be something bigger for me to react that way. You know, for me to react that type of way where it's like, oh man, is it gonna? It needs to be something way bigger than Hi-Fi Rush. It needs to be something as big as like Hellblade or as big as Gears. Then if it's something like that, then I'm like, all right, okay. There's,
here's,
you know,
let me ask you this, OJ. Xbox does pay attention, probably sometimes more than they should, to be honest, to the internet. And I think the idea here is if they make a big enough deal about Hi-Fi Rush, Microsoft be like, okay, we see it. Okay, I get it. Because if there is no big deal and we get to the point where they announce that Hellblade or Halo, it's too late then. They've announced it. It's coming, you know? So I kind of feel like that's also their mentality is let's make a big deal about this. So
you
understand.
You're told they literally said exactly what you said.
Really?
Right now.
Yeah, they know that.
I watched this. There's I think it's like, sorry, I keep on referencing guys and I don't give them a shout out. It's like a double barrel or something like that.
Yep.
And that's exactly what some of them said was like, yeah, you know, well, they changed it. Like we made a big Xbox Live and they changed it. They changed stuff. So that was actually one of the things, like if we complain about it enough, they listen, they'll change it. So yeah, that's part of it. That's part of the goal.
I mean, I think that comes from it like that, you know, and I reference this all the time, but the Phil Spencer letter about third-party publishers and how they used to have a stranglehold on retail. And so that was their identity. Like, oh, I recognize Capcom and Ubisoft because they're at the store that I go to. And then when they had to start competing with like thousands of indie games getting released, a lot of these publishers lost their identity. Capcom obviously still has one, but I think like Ubisoft, EA, Activision to a certain extent, these publishers don't have a lot of affinity towards them. And so Phil Spencer's very aware of that being a problem, that you need to have people come to you because you are the company that they've loved for a long time. And so I think that's why they care about that. And they definitely are walking in a direction where they could hurt that, absolutely. But I mean, I think that they fully have admitted that they are moving on from the console. I don't think that means they leave the console behind, but I think they are trying to build a strategy that is built around the idea that they've lost. They're not going to catch up to PlayStation. And so why even waste time trying to do that? They need to begin building the flanking around the console space and finding a blue ocean that they can exist in. I think we're in the early days of that still, and so it looks really weird. And people are like, why not just do the thing where you sell console and most people that buy an Xbox console are gonna get Game Pass if that's your goal. And they're like that the amount of money it costs to like get to that number where that makes sense probably isn't the answer here for them. So. And in the meantime, like in terms of making money, well, now they got Activision, and King, and they got tons of money coming in. So they're going to profitability is not going to be a problem for a long time. It's about maintaining that love for the Xbox brand from a lot of people who have it and finding a way to like build that identity going forward, no matter what that looks like. And I think I don't think they're going to stop making the console, but it's going to be a lot less emphasis on the console. And they've told us as much in so many words.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I feel like them pulling out completely just shouldn't really be an option or a thing that people want, because it's going to be bad for everyone, right? Like, that's going to be less competition for PlayStation. Like, PlayStation isn't going to be driving to push things forward. It's just going to do a whole lot of bad for the gaming industry, I think. I do agree with Jeff that there needs to be somewhat of a strategy here, though, because they've literally already admitted defeat in so many ways, that they're not doing well, that this is not the console generation that they want to do. So like maybe next generation they come back, they have this banging console, does super, super good. But I think for right now, they're, like you just said, they're finding ways to skirt around it and figure out what they need to do. And I don't think I think the future for them is probably Game Pass, but I don't think technologically we are there enough to have Game Pass be very widespread. Like, game streaming is still a thing that is not available to a lot of people. So if we are going to rely on that, try to put Game Pass on TVs, on phones, all this stuff, we're just not there yet. They need a few years, I think.
Oh, Kid Smooth's in the chat. He actually sent a super chat. Says, so buy ZeniMax and ABK and don't give your console a chance before you go multi-plat. There's no try to.
I'll say this to
lock it up and sell consoles.
I'll say this to if they somehow were made some type of crazy thing and said everything will be exclusive next system. If they did that, I think it would be drastic and it could backfire in their face. But damn, that could work if they just said no. Everything's going to be exclusive except for the stuff that they have to make multi-plat, like Call of Duty, you know. But if everything else was exclusive to their console, I think that would be a crazy and interesting generation. I mean, I buy Xbox systems every single time, so I don't personally care if they did that. That's great because that's what they used to do, so I'm fine with that, you know. But if they want to do that, wouldn't that be kind of wild if they did something like that?
He's saying just try it before you start throwing a multiplayer. You know what? I wouldn't mind seeing it just because I want to see what Sony does then. I want to see them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It would be crazy.
Yeah, let the corporations fight it out.
Check this out. Imagine if
is going on here.
Jesus.
What the hell?
What's the problem?
Why do you have a luchador mask on?
Why don't you have one on, OJ?
Guy here robbing the local 7-Eleven.
I got it in a wrestling crate and I never wore it. I figured, hey, I'll wear it tonight.
Oh, at least there needs to be like a wrestling event going on for you to wear that.
Who are you fighting? Yeah, you gotta play this up a little bit.
He's fighting with his health all the time.
The wrestling event just follows RGT wherever he goes. There's a wrestling event. That's how
fighting with grapes, or what was it raisins or fighting with raisins and grapes?
Yeah, it's both pretty much.
Do you like the Toys R Us shirt?
It's
like a legit one.
No, it's a reprint.
Oh, I thought you had the vintage. You had to hang that up. I wouldn't even wear it.
Chat, what do you think that mask smells like right now? Go for it.
Hot dog water. Hot dog water, 100%.
It's brand new.
You got it in like a wrestling crate thing recently, anyway. Yeah.
Right. Does she make you wear that to bed?
I would.
Who's she?
You know, just whatever she. Yeah.
One of RGT's rotating women.
What do you think about the exclusivity war there, Sean, with Xbox? Should they be nice and put them everywhere, or just do what Kid Smooth and OJ said he'd like to see? Just cut it off. Be serious. Just nope. Exclusive. Just Xbox stuff now.
It depends what way they're taking the company, and I think they're the type of company they need to come out and say, this is what we are doing. You know, they need a call to action here, because there's way too much confusion. There's way too much, and maybe, you know, at the Xbox event, you know, maybe we'll get some of that interesting information. You know, maybe we'll get more of a clear plan. But yeah, they definitely need to, like, you don't necessarily have to address the elephant in the room, but you got to give people some sort of direction as to what you're doing. But I mean, at the same time, like, we can't act like everything is hunky dory with Sony in the same breath. Like, yeah, the system is selling great. Yeah. I don't give a fuck about that. I want some games to play. I don't want to see Naughty Dog coming out here being like, oh, here's a behind the scenes. Look, a PlayStation dude's hyping that shit up. Oh, look at that. It's got behind the scenes. I don't care. What happened to Factions 2? Like, man, it's frustrating.
I agree. I think you're 100% right. Like, that was the point. Like, yeah, I think PlayStation beat Xbox, but now what for PlayStation? Like, they still have a lot of questions now, more questions than it feels like they had when they were going head to head, and it still felt like something of a fight. So what's the future look like for them? I don't think Sony really knows. I think that's why Jim Ryan got out while the getting was good. He didn't want to figure out what the next 10 years of PlayStation looks like, because there is no real good answer other than keep spending even more money on bigger and bigger games, to the point where you have a $400 million Spider-Man 3, and I mean, you're not going to take any more risks. There's no more new IP if they're going to cost that much. You're going to have to go license more IP. It's just going to keep getting more and more expensive. I think that's why it's like, okay, so yeah, Xbox foresees a lot of this, and that's why they're like, we can't actually go head to head. So we'll do that, and people just get mad at us and say, oh, you're taking games away from all these gamers. They want them on their PlayStation. We got to find a way to skirt around. So yeah, and I think Microsoft tries to say these things. Sometimes they try to say, hey, we are like, we lost in terms of we lost the last console generation when everyone built their digital library. That was the worst one to lose. And that was their way of saying that we just are not going to fight that same fight anymore. I think you're right, RGT. They need to be more explicit than that. But I think they've tried in so many words to say what is happening here. And most fans are kind of a little bit playing, they don't want to believe it. They don't want to believe their eyes.
I want to just make sure I say, you guys are right. Like, Sony's last year was, in my opinion, one of their worst. Like, they didn't really have much. They didn't really have much at all. But since they're selling so good, it almost was just and they've got like full third-party support. Like they've got all the Japanese support. They've got everything there, so they can rely.
System.
Yeah. Like even like this year, it's like they don't have a ton of first-party stuff, but they have like a big old huge like Grand Blue Fantasy Relink that's exclusive to Sony's consoles, like PS4.
Rise of the Ronin.
Yeah, and like they've got Rise, so they've got these things, you know.
Rebirth's the most exciting game that I've seen from them for this year. It's like, but if you look at those leaked documents and you assume that those dates are correct, it's Venom in 2025, Wolverine in 2026.
Yeah,
like we know about Wolverine. We've seen Wolverine, you know, at least in a little CGI little teaser trailer. So like I guess my confusion comes in with it is like, well, if that's a game that you're already showing off, then are there games that you should be showing off that are coming out before that, or is that like my next big thing that I'm waiting for here?
Why does that mask have mandibles?
Yeah, but
I think some of those games they have shown, it's just stuff like Fair Games and Concord. I think the live service like strategy was the alternative, and I think it kind of blew up in their face. It blew up in everyone's faces. This is not a Sony problem. It blew up in everyone's face, and now Sony and Jim Ryan, I think, got out. He's like, okay, that's not the answer. I don't have another one. I'm not going to sit around here and try to come up with it, because you do need something other than the next game's going to be $400 million and everything's riding on it. And if one of those games misses, this is why, like, OJ, you're right. Like, Sony's in a good position overall still for the most part. They have the runway to figure this stuff out. Just the problem is there is no solution obvious at this time. I think it's a creative company that will come up with solutions. They probably will find other ways to start making games that can make them a lot of money, and they'll be fine. It's just, as we stand today, what does that look like? No one knows, and inside of Sony, they also don't know. So they probably will figure it out, but making every game going down the line be $400 million is just not going to be sustainable. There's no way.
Remakes and remasters all the way down. That's what we're getting.
Yeah, and they're going to run out of those pretty fast.
I'm not trying to, say doom and gloom for PlayStation and Xbox. I'm just simply asking questions that we don't really have answers to, and I feel like we should have answers to some of these questions. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so much, and it's been this way the whole console generation for both companies, both Xbox and PlayStation. There's just been so many questions that we're so used to having answered to see, because usually when you see an event, you see all these games and all these are the games that are coming out, and then you're looking forward to those games. And now it's kind of like we do an event and you see some games, and then we do another event, you're seeing the same games. It's like, oh, we got a little update for it. It's like, oh, okay. What else do you got though? What do you got in the downtime? That's where third parties come in.
I bet that State of Play comes out and it's probably got a couple of good games there and make people feel pretty good about their PS5, hopefully. And if it's not, then yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll understand that like Sony fan panic that's been happening a little bit, kind of that undercurrent of that's been happening for the last 6 months. I imagine that really will take over in a way, but I think they're going to be fine for this year. Hopefully, we'll see.
I think that's kind of the issue with like all these consoles lately, except for maybe the Switch, is that they're pushing power in such a crazy way, but there's no games to really back it up. And every year it's like, well, what are we going to play this year? There's one cool thing that'll come out, and then that's about it. And it's just not very sustainable to be a fan of something like that, I don't think, because it's probably just kind of exhausting.
Yeah, and it's like, I think I say a lot of stuff and people are like, no, I mean, they're selling the most consoles, they're making money, they're fine, but it's about growth. And Sony as a corporation is shrinking in every other one of its businesses. All focus inside of Sony is on PlayStation because it's the one profitable division. And that's why like PSVR 2 gets pushed out, because Sony proper gets excited about this new hardware and they're like, we want this, you're going to do this. And we see what's the InVision or whatever the other hardware, the headphones and stuff. All these things get coming from these other divisions. They're like, we're going to attach this to the PlayStation brand and we're going to ride your coattails here a little bit. PlayStation's got to make as much money. This is why we get the PS Plus price increases, because everything's got to make as much money as possible from PlayStation, because we need to see that growth. They are getting to the point where they are tapping out on all of these avenues of maximizing revenue, and that's why they are looking to all these other answers. And it was live service for a very long time, and now they don't believe in that. So the questions are definitely there. The answers are not.
I feel like the live service U-turn probably set them back a year or so with some of these releases. And I feel like we're
more.
kind of seeing it. I think we're seeing it right now. Like we're in the middle of it currently. So it's like a 12 to 18 month run with just Insomniac, put us on your back, let's go kind of thing. So that's tough. That's really tough. Well, I hope Concord's good. I don't know. Concord, it's like the big one from Sony. That's okay. We'll see. State of Play coming up.
The game with the roast beef sandwich. But that's all you saw was a roast beef sandwich, and like
I love roast beef, man.
I mean, it's pretty good. I miss Arby's. I wish there was an Arby's near me.
Yeah, I love Arby's.
I used to drink the sauce.
Sure.
I worked at.
Who amongst us?
You said used to, like it's not something you still do.
Oh, like their
Well, no.
what is it, like their Arby's sauce, their barbecue salt, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
The horsey sauce, right?
Sauce.
It's horsey sauce.
No,
Oh, is it?
Arby's sauce.
There's Arby's sauce and horsey sauce.
What is it though?
It's a proprietary blend.
Proprietary blend.
Lord.
And
Which usually just means friggin' barbecue sauce and French dressing or something.
When I worked at this one pharmacy, it was right next to an Arby's, so I'd go over there and I would get like a roast beef or a Smeef and cheddar, and then I'd get the sauce, and like I'd bring a couple packets back to me at work, and like I'd be sitting there, typing away. I'd open up,
snorting them,
squirt in my mouth. No, I'd drink it. And like my coworkers were like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I like the way it tastes."
You're living,
getting them calories.
Yeah.
When I don't know an answer to something going forward, I'm going to say it's a proprietary blend from now on. When I don't, it works every time.
I like it. Well, I will say the answer we need here is obvious. Don Matrick needs to make his return. He can be an advisor on the board because you need a fall guy. So there you go. He's a perfect fall guy for the Xbox One. Real quick, do you think one of the other reasons that a lot of the Xbox fans are on edge about this is because Microsoft almost shut down the Xbox in 2014?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're on edge because they don't like the games that Microsoft puts out. I think that's what it is. I think a lot of them secretly don't like Starfield, and they're just mad about that. And so every move is going to be overanalyzed and overthought about in ways that are just going to drive them crazy. I think that's what happens.
Oh, Indiana Jones. It's coming up soon.
Type.
Save everything. We'll see.
I'm interested in that. I
think everyone is. Yeah. What do you think, Sean? First person, third person?
That's got to be third person. If it's first person, throw it away in the trash.
Well.
No, is it first person?
No, I don't know. I'm not implying anything.
Jeff Grubb leaked it right at the
Jesus
forum
Christ.
post.
To Reddit, everyone.
No, I figured it might be a mix between first and third, Sean.
Why do I need first? Unless it's a camera
overthink it. They can't just play it safe, make Uncharted.
I mean, it's not even necessarily. I mean, because you had two decent Indiana Jones games prior.
Did you say decent about the Xbox game, the old school original one?
No. You're talking about Infernal Machine from Factor 5?
Infernal Machine.
Hell yeah, let's go.
You're not talking about
Blockbuster exclusive.
Staff Kings. Staff Kings was good.
Okay. Yeah.
You think in first person, do you see the brim of his hat?
I was thinking about that
just
at
like
one of the original
top
Xbox. I was like, oh god.
The Lego games are good.
Well, Legos.
Fate of Atlantis is good.
Sean, you missed it. You missed Josie when she recognized Indiana Jones where he was from.
Not where I know his. Don't get this twisted. I'm gonna get shredded in the comments. No, I said
fine, everyone. The Amish don't follow
Well, it's because he's a
much.
skin in. I'm not Amish. He's a skin in Fortnite. So then I was like, oh, I play as Indy all the time in Fortnite. It was you had to be there type deal.
Interesting.
No selling.
Okay. Let me look at some of these super chats here. T-Joe says, played the Relink demo myself. It's fun, despite tactical questions. I just really wish one of its release dates wasn't on the same day as P3R.
It's
tough.
It's a day. I think it's a day before, actually.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Looking forward to P3R. I think it's going to be good.
And I think that the what's it called? It's the digital release is at the end of this month. So it's the 29th. For the digital release. So it's a little bit before, but yeah, it's really close to P3R. But I'm actually a little bit more excited for this than P3R just because it's a new game. This is the, I think, 5th release of Persona 3 in some way. You know,
Okay.
so it's the fourth or fifth voice. Like you have the original PS2, then you have FES, then you have the PSP, then you have the HD version of it. Yeah, this is the fifth release of Persona 3.
I
So,
think this
fifth
new one will
release.
be the best.
This is from Margaret, who says, "Big fan, the British Prime Minister." I want to recognize Joshua Butts once again. Very generous, Joshua. Shout out. Achievement says, "When is Jez Corden coming on Spawncast?" I was on Rand's podcast. He wasn't able to be on there that time, but I think his time zone is like way off from ours. So it
Yeah,
it
would be like 4 a.m. for him or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to work that out, but I wouldn't mind getting him on at some point.
He lives in the UK, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I have to figure that out for him. Jorge says, since some of you want a D-pad on the Switch 2, do you think Nintendo should just drop Joy-Cons altogether and force buyers to buy a second controller to play local multiplayer?
Yes.
Yeah, I personally, yes. I don't care about the Joy-Cons at all. I have no I use the Pro controller unless it's in handheld mode. I've never passed the Joy-Con off to a single person randomly in the last 5 or 6 years. So.
Well, then how are you going to play WarioWare Move It?
I do that like every weekend. I'd be kind of bummed.
You can still sync them up, but I don't need that to be the primary controller.
I don't think you need to. You can still make a Joy-Con with the D-pad, and it can still function in the same way. Can it?
Yeah. Just make a D-pad
like
Joy-Con
weird.
too. Just do that. I mean, the Switch Lite has it.
Did the Pro Controller's D-pad get better over time? Because I got the launch one, and the D-pad was so bad with false diagonals that I never used it again. I hated that.
It got slightly better. They revised
Right.
it. Like they revised the thing like 5 times so far internally.
How do you use the Switch Lite D-pad?
What's that? Switch Lite.
Grub, have you used the Switch Lite D-pad?
I have, and I do like that. Is it like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's pretty similar.
Okay, yeah, it's close to. I'm very happy with the Switch Lite D-pad.
Yeah.
G-Man says, "Hey Jeff, the ending of Firewatch sucks, Grub."
Hey, you're allowed to think that. I'm allowed to think it's a red flag if you don't like it.
And John, I love the Switch 2 more than my family Spawn Wave. Why does the PS5 only have 12 exclusives? I don't know.
Because games are expensive to make.
They're quite expensive. See, we have fire with a little bird emoji there. JT says, God of War in a Prince of Persia, the Lost Crown style. Oh, like a 2D God of War.
That would rule.
That'd be rad.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'd be sure, why not? 1,000,000% down.
Have you seen some of the stuff of fighting, the combat? Like people who are really good at fighting games playing the Lost Crown and showing off what's capable in that. You add a good combo system to a 2D God of War. I would love that.
This is from Bernie, who says, hope you all are having a good night. I see Jeff Grubb is here, so I got to say, let's go Lions.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Can't wait. I can't believe it.
Tomorrow. AJ says, Hellblade 2 definitely gets dated Thursday, right? Unless it's this direct shadow drop this time around. Little eye emojis. Nice. Hellblade 2 available right now. No? Okay. It's supposed to be the big thing about Game Pass. They can shadow drop anything whenever, right? It's in there now. Go get it.
I suppose it does mitigate that a little bit, right? Because those first day sales maybe don't matter quite as much.
The Uncharted Wolf says, any thoughts on a Spyro game coming soon? They've been hinting at it. They've put a little card out that's like, gotta believe 2024.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
I think a Spyro game is going to get announced this year. So I don't know if it's coming out this year. I think it's getting announced this year though. Liam says, do we know for certain Switch 2 is even 2024? We do not. It could be called the Super Switch.
I hope it never comes out.
Switch 2 with
our podcast would suffer a little bit.
That's fine, bro. I did Wii U shit. All right, for Nintendo enthusiasts for years. You learn how to squeeze water on a rock.
That's exactly right. I did Wii U stuff too. That was brutal, but you figure out how to get it done one way or another.
Andy says Microsoft will recover. They make a mean toaster. I saw that. The Xbox Series S toaster. Kid Smooth says Player S in summer is correct. Casual Noob Gamer says, why buy Xbox console if games go elsewhere eventually?
True.
Well, Microsoft just wants your money,
Damn.
and they want your Game Pass subscription. So
Hey,
They've
look,
already said they don't care.
Game Pass, maybe you buy it because there's Game Pass. You buy it because you like the controller, or you like the system, or because you like the quick resume certain features. I mean, there's I guess there's other reasons.
It's why they're not doing a Pro, because they already have a Pro. It's called a PC. Like they don't care.
yeah. Michael says, with games becoming all digital on standard x86 hardware, do you think home consoles will become obsolete with the actual differentiator now, storefront, subscription, and catalog? You think it'll become a home console? People have been theorizing home consoles are going away for decades already. Like like PS3 and 360 generation was going to be like the last gen or something at one point, or Pactor said that was for the PS4 and Xbox One.
Microsoft's looking at ARM as well for their next one, so they might even go away from x86. So
that was one of their slides. Yeah, I saw that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
They might be thinking that by the time we get to, well, it was going to be 20. I mean, at this point, they might launch 2026. Who knows? But ARM, these mobile chips are getting pretty.
Oh yeah,
pretty good.
They're going up in power faster than x86 is going down or improving in efficiency. So it might make sense.
Yeah. The Axiom says Origami King is going for $100 on eBay now.
Weird.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Is
because
of the going out of print thing.
Yeah, they're going out of. It looks like some people are speculating, Nintendo Select's situation. So.
And no one wants that badge of shame, the yellow Nintendo Selects label.
Those are all my Wii U games.
I'll keep it a buck. I bought Pikmin 3 the other day. I'm like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that player's choice banner on that shit, man.
You saw Prime Video.
Everybody know you broke. Letting everybody know you're a brokey? Nah, I'm good.
Oh man, it reminds me when I was shut up at school with my Hakeem Olajuwon shoes when everyone was wearing Jordans. So yeah,
a big 34 on the side.
Big 34 on the side. Yeah, you know.
I had a pair, bro.
They were $34. They were on sale. I got them.
My mom got me those too. I was like, well, I can't get shit.
Yeah.
I can't get Jordans. I can't get Jordans, but I'll take this.
Uh-huh. They were good.
And I'm joking with the brokey stuff, guys. Like I bought Player's Choice all the time. I'm joking. Don't take it serious.
OJ's calling you all poor.
Try not to get canceled.
This goes. I think after the 360 era of Xbox, they must have felt pretty confident about the brand. The always online DRM stuff really left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. We can see the trend of everything becoming digital, with Best Buy pulling all physical. Don Matrick was a visionary. It's pretty obvious. He was ahead of his time, and you should have just bought a 360. Okay. Yeah, if it wasn't for them trying to put a security camera in your living room, they might have had something there. Oh well. Scar says a definite visual upgrade.
Definitely. I mean,
Scent, not so much for you, Sean.
For the mask.
Yeah,
fuck off.
he says no consoles plus Game Pass over console plus no games. Disco says, I think live service might still have some gas in the tank, but what's the next big thing? And will it be Sony that finds it? Sony might be a juggernaut, but they keep canceling their live service games. Cost versus benefits, maybe. The next big thing is obviously Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League.
Blow up the industry.
This title.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
They lifted
the NDA on this thing, and I think they were expecting it to go over well when they did that. It did not. So
I watched the gameplay. I mean, I was trying to give it it looks bad. Like it looks like a bad version of Destiny.
I played the out. Sean.
Oh yeah, they lifted it on the NDA on you.
Fuck yeah, they did. They lifted me, Nate. I think MG played a little bit of it. I played 2 hours, and that was enough for me. Yeah, not great. Not great.
Rocksteady spending 7-8 years on this is a tragedy.
This is a travesty.
Yes.
A tragedy. This is from one of my favorite studios in the 360 era, right? Like with Batman, this is just, I don't care what any type of justification. It's not cool, man. This sucks. Like I feel bad for them because, maybe they were pushed in this direction, but at the same time, it's like, bro, like this is not good, man. Coming from Batman, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, like, oh man, it is what it is, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have like traversals different for each character, and like for example, Captain Boomerang, he throws his boomerang, he'll warp to it, like super speed to it and stuff, which is fine, but it didn't feel great necessarily using it in combat. It didn't feel like I could control it very well. And they have like cutscenes set up to show all this stuff, and it's super high quality. I'll give them that. But at the same time, I feel like most people are just going to go online and watch all the cutscenes back to back to back. And that, I guess the only compelling thing about this is the story, because as I was playing the game, and they have you like go off with Flash and Green Lantern, they're like wreaking havoc in the city, and I'm jumping around, and I'm like, okay, all right, this is like Crackdown 3. I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is like Crackdown 3. Oh no. Wow. Just like the feeling jumping around and stuff. I was like, oh, that's enough for me. And it was like, this is like midnight, 1 a.m. and it was like pitch black, silent in my house. And I just turned the Xbox off, and it's just quiet.
John, better or worse than DC Universe Online at launch?
It doesn't feel like that though. It's not like it's more action based, right? Whereas DC does have like the menus, you're clicking and moves. This is more like you hit a button and you'll shoot guns and aim down sights and that sort of thing. But it just, man, what a sad time that was. Don't feel like going back. But anyway, I'm gonna probably hate beat it in about a month. So look out for that.
Saints Row.
Do it.
Saints Row.
I'll Saints Row that thing.
Yeah.
I give Suicide Squad a 6 out of 10. Mark it down.
No, you get Saints Row a 9. It's gonna get like an 8 or 9.
No, there's too much negative publicity about it though.
Oh man, I'll play it. I got to see the story through, but that's about it. I don't know
why. Who is Captain Boomerang, by the way?
One of Flash's
is that
villains.
a real?
One of Flash's major villains.
They're all real. You could literally say any combination of words, and they're a DC character. There's a Calendar Man.
You're kind of right, actually.
Calendar Man was in Batman, wasn't he?
And then he actually had some pretty cool things.
That's right. Yes. He's in one of the games already.
The system's calendar, though, he would actually say things on different days.
If you're in Batman, you're fine.
Did you watch any of the movies, the animated movies for like Batman and Suicide Squad, like Assault on Arkham?
No.
That's actually a good one. You might like that because you like Mask of the Phantasm.
Captain Boomerang is originally a Batman villain, right?
Or I'm pretty sure he's Flash. He was one of
Flash. Okay.
Yeah.
Flash. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because in the game he gets the super speed like Flash, and he's like making fun of him and laughing and.
Oh, okay. That's why. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that stuff was good. I'm like, okay, this is fine. And they have like the funny cutscenes where it's all dramatic and stuff, and then somebody trips over something or punches. It's so they're playing into kind of the joking nature of how these are just misfits trying to take down the Justice League. They have like Wonder Woman's not under mind control and stuff in the beta, and I don't know. The story is interesting, but the gameplay just does not. It's just not there. So it's sad. I didn't play with other people though, so I don't know. Maybe it's more fun with. I mean, we got through Redfall.
Did you just really love Gotham Knights with other people?
No.
Okay.
I couldn't get anyone to play Gotham Knights after an hour. Sean wouldn't talk to me for 2 days after I made him download the game and play it.
He was right.
He just excommunicated for half a week.
Yeah,
so
gotta learn a lesson, pal.
A shame with Rocksteady. Man. Could have just made another Batman game, but oh well.
Yep.
Superman would have been cool. I don't know. Sean, we have Sega. I got Sega news for you.
Yeah,
we had 5 games that were, of course, announced. There's 3 more that apparently were put out there by Insider Gaming. Do you have any insight on the 3 games? Because there's Panzer Dragoon,
that's the only
Sakura Tyson, and
Mike
here we
Tyson.
go. Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh yeah. Awesome.
Did I do it? I did it. All right, good. I've never really watched that. I see people talk about it on Twitter. It's not as easy to pronounce as Gundam Wing, so I just watched Gundam Wing instead.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing what they do with Panzer. I mean, it's a franchise that I think would still lend itself to be interesting. I would assume they would go in the more traditional direction instead of the Saga RPG direction. But yeah, I think that would be cool. The other 2 things I could care less about.
I think wouldn't Saga like a new Sega Panzer Dragoon Saga RPG? I think would hit really hard these days.
But then you get into the whole budget thing, risk and reward.
Yeah, really good point. Okay,
I think
these games look like they're bigger budget than what you might imagine, but they're not that big. You're right.
Right. I mean, I would love to see a Skies of Arcadia HD version if you want to test the water. You can't really do that with Saga because, I mean, you would have to. I think the code was lost on it or something.
Yeah, the code. They could release an emulator on a disc sort of thing. Something along those lines. Saturn emulation's better than it has been, but yeah, they don't have the original source code.
Yeah, so it'd be tough, but I would love to see it. I just you got to be somewhat financially responsible with it.
Would you would greenlight the Skies of Arcadia HD if you were in charge of Sega?
Oh yeah, I think that would be fine. And once again, okay, you don't work for Sega. And once again, like I think that's a low risk, high reward proposition.
I can't believe they haven't tried that yet. Maybe they are doing it now because apparently they got some new leadership in there for Sega or Sega America and Europe. So maybe they're gonna take a shot at some of this stuff. It seems like that would be a good one. Just test the waters. You're right. But Panzer Dragoon's the only one you're looking at. That's like, I mean, I looked at the 3 games. And I was like, yeah, it's probably just Panzer for sure.
Yeah,
if you talk
I don't know shit about the other two.
The others, well, I think the other one is Sakura Wars, basically.
Yeah, people love Sakura Wars. I've never played it, but my Discord went wild for it last year.
But wasn't there one on the? Like, I feel like that's a franchise that. Yeah, like that's a franchise that hasn't been.
Yeah,
hasn't been like missing for a while.
It's good. It's good. It's just didn't do as well as maybe they would have hoped, or it really didn't do well at all. But it's a good game. I mean, I liked it when I played it. I'm a fan of Sakura Wars. I'm a fan of all like Panzer, all that stuff. If it comes back, I would also, Valkyria Chronicles. I mean, hopefully they bring that back too. I think that'd be really good.
There's still 2 more games apparently that we don't know about or 2 more franchises coming back. One of them needs to be Comic Zone. That's obvious. So it leaves 1 more up for everyone else.
Comic Zone is one of the rumored one. Is that what you're saying? Because it is rumored. Comic Zone.
Well, yeah, because they said a movie. They're working on a movie for that. What do we think? What do we think? The other Konami thing is. I think that's interesting, and that wasn't on your topics list because you're terrible at your job.
It can be now if you want it to be.
Oh,
Google Drive is something we can edit. We can edit it. Oh, well, the other Konami game. What do you think, Sean?
I don't know.
Another Konami.
Know. What does the mask tell you?
Well, it's bigger than Felix and Rocket Knight because they're doing it at IGN's thing. You know what I'm saying?
Do we have any other like details, any other circumstantial stuff? Because for a long time, like alongside this Metal Gear Solid stuff, it's Castlevania is the other thing that gets mentioned all the time in that same breath, and we haven't had anything confirmed from that yet.
Yeah, and I mean they did, the other 2 collections, so it would be kind of.
It's a new game. That's the thing I've heard.
Oh no, this is the limited run thing. This is
something limited. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
okay.
It's got to be a retro collection. I mean, do we think maybe Silent Hill? Like,
the original?
Okay, yes. Pay attention, okay?
I know you mean Silent Hill 2 because that's apparently coming out this year.
Right, but okay. In that same vein, supposedly Metal Gear Solid Delta is coming out this year, and they just released the trilogy. So I don't think that's outside the realm of possibility necessarily. But yeah, that Rocket Knight's gonna be fucking hype.
I'll go with poppin' music. I don't know. I'm looking at their list of. I'm trying to pick out what would be. I don't know, realistic here. Bloody Roar.
Oh yeah,
like I'm thinking of like limited run, right?
Well, no, but it has to be Carbon Engine friendly. And so now you're here. Well, yeah, because there's certain systems, because we talked about it in that's obviously dated by like 6 months now or something. So who knows what's been advanced, but
it would be cool if, and this is going to be a rights nightmare, but what if they just did an arcade collection of all their IP games, like The Simpsons and X-Men and stuff like that? That was all Konami, right?
Yeah. I mean,
that would rule. Ninja Turtles. Jeez, yeah.
And I mean, they've done Ninja Turtles.
They have done that,
in the Cowabunga collection.
That's right. So. Yeah. So yeah, maybe something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, he can do He's doing PlayStation with the Carbon engine.
Yeah. But
I mean, Vandal Hearts.
Okay.
PlayStation.
Come on.
Dance Revolution.
Beat Mania.
Yeah.
Is there a celebration of anything? Because like Jurassic Park was based on the Celebration 30th anniversary.
Let's see.
So Disney owns X-Men and Simpsons, right?
Yeah, and John Drake is pretty down to like do a lot of business like that.
Yeah, I mean they did the arcade one up for both X-Men and Simpsons.
Yep.
Jekka Sports.
That's a Hudson Soft game.
Oh, it's under their list.
Well, yeah, because Konami owns
Coded
Hudson
Arms.
Soft.
That'd be cool. I bet you can do a PSP game, right?
Coded Arms. I remember when Coded Arms came out. My buddy bought it for his PSP.
It's just Contra with online. That's all it is.
No, we already got a Contra collection though.
But with online, did it actually have that built in?
No, it didn't.
I do want to point this out as this was something that was
if it's Snatcher, if they did Snatcher and Police Knots,
it's not like Snatcher. That'd be too good if it was Snatcher.
Well, they're doing that other collection that fucking Joe from GameSack made a big huffy and puffy about the translation. All those other fucking retro dorks. I mean, I'm friends with them. They're like, "Who did this translation? Is it a working design translation? Is it an official?" Like, shut up! Goddamn! Did an AI do this? It's like, bro, chill out. I'm not even familiar with the fucking series, but people acted like it was like the second coming of Christ, and I was like, okay. But that was the limited run compilation that they're doing. But it was the games were only released in Japan, is what I'm saying, and they're being translated for the first time.
But Snatcher would be pretty. That'd be pretty good if that. If
I'm talking about I'm talking about
do something that like invokes Kojima like that.
If there's money to be made, I mean, look at Metal Gear. Metal Gear.
I guess so. Yeah.
Strap a remaster.
But Metal Gear's like there's too much money in Metal Gear to ignore it. I don't think they're expecting like Police Knots and Snatcher to hit like that.
But if you do like Police Knots translated for the first time and Snatcher together, like, bro,
that'd be pretty good.
Think of how much Snatcher fucking costs. Like,
yeah, how much is that now?
Last I looked, it was like 1,700 CIB.
Oh, what? Remember we used to have one of those in the store, Evan, back in the day on the Sega CD.
But like,
oh my gosh, look at this thing. Yep, we had that.
I think if they did that, like, and I mean, obviously, Kojima would get paid off of it because it's his work. So I mean, it's win-win-win across the board. I
don't know if he would get paid. Like,
it depends on the contract.
Yeah,
100%.
But you know, whatever. You're right that if they think they can make money, they wouldn't care. You're right. Yeah,
that would be sick though if they announced Snatcher.
Yeah, you do Snatcher, SD Snatcher, and Police Knots. Which SD Snatcher was the super deformed one that came out on.
I never played Police Knots. Is it good?
I have a translated version. It's interesting. I have never played it to completion.
Okay.
So I can't really speak too much on it. But it's an interesting enough premise, and I mean it's the same sort of thing. Yeah, Snatcher's already translated. We're talking. You would need.
What is Snatcher though? Explain.
Have you ever seen Blade Runner?
Yeah.
It's like, what if Kojima just watched Blade Runner and then made a movie or made a game about it, basically.
It's a point and click style game with like limited shooting segments, but the story and the writing is really, it was a Sega CD game, and the story and the writing is actually like really well done. And there's lots of nods to Metal Gear stuff that becomes more prevalent. Like your little assistant thing is called Metal Gear, and like there's Outer Haven and stuff like that. So there's lots of cool nods to it, but it's a very cool game. But you have to like that sort of storytelling and stuff like that. But very, very adult, mature themed game.
I'm going to put my money on it is Symphony of the Night finally coming to Switch.
That would be fucking great.
That would be fantastic. It is overdue.
This is from, let me go through some of the super chats here as we finish up. This is from Joshua Butts, who says, I would love to see Adam Korlick come on the Spawncast sometime. Y'all could talk bunch about the inevitable, dreaded all digital future. Well, plenty of time to talk about that here pretty soon, I think. Best Buy and Target. Ruffle Mutt says Switch 2 is weak, but the Steam Deck is a 4090.
Switch 2 is way too weak. Like,
yeah, all those confirmed specs that are out there.
Dev kits, people got dev kits and shit. I've seen it.
They've confirmed everything. Specs are confirmed. Dev kits are out there. Games.
8 gigabytes. Let's go.
Yeah, Mario's gonna be 4 times bigger. It's gonna have Pauline and everybody just knows everything.
The sex scene for the first time.
Can't wait. Gonna see Mario's butthole. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold up here. I didn't say OnlyFans the game, bro. We said, hold up.
Yum Yum says there was a God of War Betrayal on 2D released on mobile, never known to most gamers. I think that got obviously can't play it now, but that was on like old Nokia phone stuff back in the day. Yeah, that was a while ago. Jacob says, "What are the odds Ghost 2 is this year?" Probably not very high.
yeah, like 20% maybe, at 1 in 5 chance.
I'd like it, but I'm thinking if anything, that might be like, we'll say first half of next year or something. But David says, besides Player Essence, is anyone else hyped for Penny's big breakaway from the Sonic Mania team? That game is shaping up to be a massive shakeup for the 3D platforming genre.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it looks cool. I've talked about it when it was first shown off.
Are you ready to love again, Sean, after what happened with Balin, though?
No, I've never really loved before in my life. So.
That helps, actually.
Yeah.
CJ says, why does everyone ignore Final Success? 100,000 users average of Steam since release. I don't know, ask Sean. He tried playing it for 5 minutes and rage quit halfway through.
It was closer to like 4 minutes. I'm going to be real.
He rage quit. He actually turned off his Xbox. He just gave up. And it was up to Nate and I, and we pulled out the win later. We got it. But no, I don't know. It was okay. We played the same map over and over again, I think, for a while. And I was like, I think I have enough. Senors Bean says Ghost of Tsushima was mixed 83 meta like Starfield. Yeah, it's actually a little weird that Metacritic is in 83. I felt like it would be higher than that.
Here's the thing. What the journalists thought about Ghost of Tsushima and its scores don't reflect what they actually thought about the game. They thought the game was like a 90 plus, but for some reason, other people felt the game was too. Other sites felt like the game was too Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed, exactly what happened.
Yeah, so that's what happened. So you had a bunch of people that thought the game is too Assassin's Creed, so it's going to get an 8 out of 10. But then a lot of people voting like Game of the Year, and a lot of the journalists felt, no, this is like a 9 or 9.5 or a 10 out of 10. So it created that mixed type of thing where you saw it get, in the Game of the Year voting for many different things, but it has a little bit of a lower Metacritic, whereas Starfield it just seemed like it was universally just either mid or I like it a bit. I mean, there are some I really like the game, but it's not the same vibe. If you just actually look at the individual what people are saying and the voting went, you can clearly see that people felt Ghost is a way better game, despite them having the same average. People felt Ghost was way better. If you just look at what people were saying, like especially like the Game of the Year voters and stuff like that.
Josie, put Ghost of Tsushima on your list.
All right. No, I've been looking at it for a long time. It was kind of like when it was first. It's on the PS4, right?
Yeah, but they did a PS5 version of it now, and it's on PlayStation Plus.
So. Yeah, my brother had it, so I've been looking at checking it out for a while.
Yep, they did a whole PS5 upgrade for it, but it's you have PlayStation Plus, it's on there, so put on the list. Good game.
It's on the homework list.
Yeah, Josie, you can also borrow it from your sister too. She can also.
I don't have a sister. I have a brother.
Oh, my bad.
Also played Mike Tyson's Punch Out. If we're just handing out games, you have to play.
Yeah. Well, I have played Punch Out.
Okay. Never mind. That's all good.
You played Punch Out, not Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Yeah, Mr. Dream or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Well, she has Tekken coming up soon, so she's gonna be busy. But
you guys know I'm number 83 in the world in Punch Out, right? I have the speed on speedrun.com. That's number 83 in the world in Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Yeah.
What? That's a random flex. I like it though.
Yeah, right. Well, hey, listen, you don't spend 6 months trying to do something and then not tell people about it. Oh,
no, I said I like it. I'm a fan.
Ruffle Mutt says, by the way, playing Gravity Rush 2. Screw that live action.
What is that?
They showed some live action.
What is that?
I don't
make another fucking game, you weirdos.
They destroyed the studio that made the game.
Well, fucking outsourced it.
Hey, Team Asobi going to come out swinging with the next Gravity Rush. Watch out. Casual Noob Gamer says, which is better, Gotham Knights or Suicide Squad? Well, I haven't played through Suicide Squad yet, but I don't know.
I'll take Gotham Knights right now. I don't even got to play. I'll take Gotham Knights right now.
Disco says, what's everyone's thoughts on handheld PCs or any form of portable console? I've been more interested in them recently, thinking of an Asus ROG or some other emulation machine. I did get an Ambernick.
Yeah, I love them.
ROG is god tier. I will say that I don't remember the name of it. The wood grain Ambernick that I got sent. I made a video on. I think I talked about GameCube stuff on it. I have used that so much for my book. Like all of the screenshots of the N64 wrestling games, I took it on there because it looks really good on there. And like that thing is so like beefy. Like it plays Dreamcast games great. It plays most PS2 games really well. GameCube games really well. Like fucking Twilight Princess runs on that thing. Like it's super good for the price. I love that thing.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with these things. I feel the same way about all my like Android handhelds that RGT just said. And then I've been playing a ton of Roger Ally. I call it the Roger side, the ROG Ally.
Fucking amazing.
It's great. I hate Windows, but dealing like on these devices, using Windows is a real pain in the ass. It could be really messy sometimes. But once you're in the game, it's great. The games run really well. I really like my Steam Deck OLED, and I just got the Aya Neo slide that has the slide out keyboard, like my old Sidekick, and I'm old man, so that got me excited. Games actually run surprisingly good on that. It has like the same chip that's in all the top end handheld PCs from China. These things are pretty good right now. If you get like the Steam Deck OLED, you get the Roger Ally, those things are going to treat you right. You're going to be able to play most new games on there. I think like Avatar didn't run very well, but like most everything else does.
And PlayStation 3. PlayStation 3 is a fucking beast on the ROG Ally.
Yeah,
that's what I use it for all the time.
Yeah.
On the sand.
Yep, 50 Cent. Let's go.
TJ says, just a reminder that P3 and FES have worse combat and are stuck on PS2 and PS3, while P3 Portable has better combat but less content and worse presentation. P3R fixes all of that, but no FES story. Shout out to Joe.
Hey, you know.
Elliman says, games are getting too expensive and console hardware is expensive, selling at a loss. How long till Sony stops selling consoles? They'll keep selling consoles till the end of time if they could.
They have to. That's one of their main sources of income.
Yep,
is their games division.
Boot says, for the first time in a decade, I got all of my games on one wall using track shelving for Mac storage. Anyone else have overdue game storage wins? That's Sean. And I think one time a bookshelf fell on you or something.
Well, you remember when I moved and you had to come help me and all my bookshelves broke. That was fun.
Yeah, they just broke. Yeah, they're just busted in the.
But no, I mean, I sold most of my shit.
Yeah,
so.
you got all of it.
Yeah.
He just says, and yes, I'm aware Persona 3 Reload is on Game Pass, but I don't have an Xbox and my PC isn't convenient to play it, so I'm getting it on PS5. All right, there you go. Shout out to Joe. Yum Yum says, what US cartoons great to port into a video game?
Where's Jordan?
Yum Yum?
That is a Jordan question. What's a good cartoon, Sean, that you should send into a video game?
Dino Saucers.
No, Sean, let me give you SWAT Cats. Take SWAT Cats and make an incredible game.
Didn't SWAT Cats have a game?
Nintendo game for that, right?
It does have a game, but we need a new game.
Was there ever
that game? But I remember as a kid, I really wanted it.
I played it.
Never a Dino Saucers game.
So I can make that childhood dream come true right now.
A good Avatar game would be good.
You could talk to
not for that price. Never mind.
John Riggs. He might be able to.
I guess SWAT Cat's $200.
No, it's
all those fucking games are.
It's an okay game. It's not that great, but I mean, if you like SWAT Cats, I mean, you'll probably get a little bit of fun. I mean, I like SWAT Cats, so I like the game.
I remember that the SWAT Cats was awesome back then.
That's an awesome show. So, I mean, if they did a
I'll take
game,
a Street Sharks beat 'em up.
We do some Pirates of Dark Water.
I'll take a Street Sharks beat 'em up.
Oh, Street Sharks is good. Yeah, Street Sharks.
You go with that.
Man, those toys were banging back in the day. You ever get the Street Sharks toy back in the day?
I had one of them. Yeah, because you could have the thing and like their mouth would close. And...
Yeah.
I think it was cool. The video was Vin Diesel. He was one of the people who was actually selling the Street Shark stuff back in the day. That was kind of funny to watch.
Well, they were awesome. Let me go through.
Fuck you.
Yeah, you remember that, don't you? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Probably remember the theme song now too, because I said that.
Darkwing Duck had a game on the NES. It was good.
Okay,
Hair had a game on the NES.
Pick a cartoon. We're putting $100 million behind it. What do you got?
Dinosaurs.
Okay.
Pirates of Dark Water.
We already have good DuckTales.
I know,
games.
but we could get a new updated one. They released a new show reboot. You reboot the game too.
What about Freakazoid?
Everybody liked the reboot.
Yeah. No, Freakazoid. Yo, Freakazoid would be so cool.
Why do I feel like there was a Freakazoid game?
I don't think there was.
There was an Animaniacs game.
We're talking about like
but,
Super Nintendo, PS1 games. Like we're talking about like We're gonna start development now. PlayStation 6.
Freakazoid is ahead of its time.
Freakazoid, come on and wind me.
Roy says I want Dino Riders.
I'm telling you, man, Freakazoid, it's ahead of its time. It's funny. You can go watch Freakazoid right now and like laugh at some of the jokes, even though some of it's old, but it's still really funny.
Let me go around here as we finish up. Jeff, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, I'm on giantbomb.com. I do a daily news show on there at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's live. Come hang out. We talk about video games for an hour. And then I got my Game Mess here on YouTube, Jeff Grubb's Game Mess. We do Last of the Nintendogs on Tuesday and Game Mess Decides on Thursday. Those are podcasts. They happen around 9 p.m. Eastern. Tune in for those. And then, just on Twitter, at Jeff Grubb. Trying to use that less, but I can't help myself. I'm on there a lot.
I have your channel linked down below in the description. People go check it out.
Thanks, John.
Jeff's active over there. He's got you covered. I do also want to recognize two of the Streamlabs messages here. Rick said, how'd this launch lineup be for Switch 2, Mario Kart 9, a new Mario 3D, Star Fox, Metroid Prime 4, then tech demo stuff like how 1-2 Switch and ARMS was, then third-party games, Elden Ring, Starfield, Genshin, and Star Rail. That would be...
That'd be insane.
That'd be the most ridiculous launch lineup of all time.
That would be a bad idea.
All the good games out at the same time.
Yeah, and then people don't buy it, and then people say, oh, it's not selling. No, we can't have that. You got to spread it out, man.
Then Liam did ask Jeff, do you personally think the next Nintendo console will have backwards compatibility?
Yeah. I think it is in NVIDIA's interest to help Nintendo figure that out.
Okay, there you go. Josie, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Josie Woe. I'm playing through Metroid Prime 2, or not Prime 2, Metroid 2 on the Game Boy. So if you want to check that out, I'll be live at some point. RGT Nate and I just relaunched the podcast, I guess, on a new channel too, where we talk all about Nintendo. So you guys should check that one out. It's a good time. But yeah, thank you for having me on.
It's called, what's it called, Josie?
Oh, Game and Talk Podcast. Can I drop the link in the chat? I'll do that.
You can't do that.
No cross promotion.
Unfortunately. Wait,
Josie's been going serious with this too. You guys check it out. Check it out there. Check it out. Got that, and they're also live streaming it now too. So they
I saw a store to me pop up in my story feed. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I look, like, oh yeah.
We got to make sure that's how you grow a podcast.
Yeah, Sean, where can everyone find you?
YouTube.com/dream.
Jesus.
I wish his camera was still on with the mask.
Stop. Guy. Got some mega uploads coming up this week, and
that was the best one.
Show. That's a good one. I could have went longer.
That was the best one.
Kind of recording and then just hold up to the microphone and like have it looped.
Fun.
You got to learn the Singer method of inhaling while still talking, so that you can just go back and forth.
All right. What about OJ?
Yeah, I can't do the dream for like 10 years like Sean. But you can find me right here on YouTube. I pretty much stream every day with my Player Essence Live show, and I've got some cool videos coming up on Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. In addition to interesting video with Mario plus Rabbids. So if you're into those games and want to know some of the reasons why maybe the second one didn't hit like the first one, I've been working on something like that. So check that video out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for having me. Player Essence on YouTube. And yeah, a lot of you guys have been coming over and saying from the Spawncast, so I appreciate you guys. Seriously, I really do. Thank you.
About Evan, you got your tabletop channel going.
Yep, you can find me on YouTube at Kimmerix Project. Some more videos coming up. I'm trying to reorganize my schedule so I don't kill myself with burnout again. Yeah, it's been fun though. Almost 4K subscribers, just a little bit off, so it's nice.
Nice. All right, good stuff.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Congrats.
Let's check it out. Got some awesome videos for tabletop going. So a lot of Warhammer stuff, Evan.
Oh yeah, everything's constantly shifting. I think I'm gonna try to stream the Las Vegas Open. I think a week or two from now. That should be fun to watch.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. But that should do it here for us. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be talking about the Xbox Developer Direct, and I'm sure other things that have happened. So, Sean, you have your after show going.
It's already live, pal.
Okay, there you go. Thanks everyone. We'll see you next weekend.